What if the Force refused to let Anakin Skywalker die on the second Death Star, and instead threw him and Ahsoka all the way back to the Phantom Menace? That is our story for today. Hope you guys enjoy, and let's get right into it. Our story begins in fire. The second Death Star is breaking apart above Endor. Alarms scream, metal tears. Outside, the galaxy is celebrating the fall of Vader. Inside, in a quiet hangar, a broken Anakin Skywalker lies beneath his son. The duel is over. The Emperor is dead. The lava, the platform, the decades of rage have finally burned out. Luke removes the mask. For Anakin, the world softens. He feels the cold air on his scarred face. He sees his son with his own eyes. Father and son, enemies for so long, now simply Skywalker and Skywalker, sharing one last moment as the station dies around them. In canon, this is where the light wins and the body fails, but this time, as Anakin's breath rattles and slows, something changes. The darkness doesn't close in, it explodes. His vision floods with white. Not the gentle drift into the living force he expected, but a violent pull, like a hyperspace jump with no ship, no cockpit, no control. The hangar, Luke, the burning wreckage, it all rips away as a blinding surge of the cosmic force tears his consciousness free. Anakin tries to reach for his son. His hand passes through nothing. There is no armor now, no weight, no failing heart. Only the roar of the Force itself, ancient and angry, wrapping around him like a storm that has been waiting for this moment since the prophecy was first spoken. Then, silence. Elsewhere, or maybe everywhere, Ahsoka Tano is running through a starless void. It looks and feels like the world between worlds, that impossible place she once crossed when Ezra pulled her out of her duel with Vader. Doors of light hang in the distance, echoes of battles, of voices, of futures and pasts whisper all around her as she moves. She is mid-stride when it hits. A shockwave of presence, familiar, terrifying, home. The Force grabs her, yanking her sideways, and she stumbles as reality bends. Ahsoka reaches for her lightsabers on instinct as a new star flares into existence beside her. Anakin slams into the void, not as Vader, as the burned, unmasked man who just died saving his son. Older, weary, but unmistakably Anakin. Master and apprentice, separated for years, now stand together again in a place outside time, both ripped from their endings. Ahsoka feels it first, the pattern, the same strange current she sensed on Mortis, in the world between worlds. In every moment, the Force itself seemed to reach out and interfere. The cosmic Force is not letting go of Anakin Skywalker, even after everything. What if? It seems to say, his story isn't finished. Images slam into them. Naboo under blockade, clones marching, younglings falling, Palpatine smiling in the Senate, a red blade igniting in a dark office, Order 66, Mustafar, the Temple, Luke and Leia, the Death Star, all of it, all at once, like the Force is shoving the entire saga into their minds and then pointing backward, back to Tatooine. They understand the offer and the threat. The Force is resurrecting them, body and soul, and sending them to the beginning, to the Phantom Menace, to a time before Darth Vader, before the Clone Wars, before everything burned. They will walk into Episode 1 with full knowledge of Palpatine, of the war, of Anakin's fall, but there is no promise they can change any of it without a terrible price. Maybe the timeline will fight back. Maybe the Force itself will. The white void shudders. Cracks of golden light tear through the emptiness. Ahsoka reaches for Anakin's hand as the floor beneath them vanishes. The void collapses. Twin suns rise. Suddenly there is sand under Anakin's boots, hot and familiar. The blinding white fades into the burning sky of Tatooine at dawn. Wind carries the distant roar of engines, pod racers. He knows that sound. He knows this horizon. He hears a child laughing, high and bright, carried on the desert air. His own voice. Older Anakin turns toward Mos Espa as that laughter echoes through him. As memory and reality collide, the Chosen One is standing in the moment before his entire life begins, and as that realization hits, the screen cuts to black, and our title slams in. What if the Force revived Anakin and Ahsoka and sent them to Episode 1? The screen holds on that title for just a second too long, the echo of Anakin's younger laughter still hanging in the air. Over that sound, the host voice comes in, steady and excited, cutting through the twin suns and the dust. Welcome back, everyone, to another massive, movie-length Anakin Skywalker What If. Our story begins not on Mustafar this time, not on a burning platform over a river of lava, but at the very start of the Skywalker saga. This is part of our long-running experiment with the fate of Anakin, where we've spent hours watching him refuse the jump on Mustafar, turn his blade on Sidious, and even walk away from the Jedi entirely. Today, the Force doesn't just nudge one moment, it rewinds the entire board back to the Phantom Menace. For those of you who've been here through the 5 hours of Anakin timelines, through Order 66 rewrites, and Vader redemption arcs, hope you guys enjoy this next escalation. Instead of saving him at the edge of the lava, the Force itself yanks a redeemed Anakin and Ahsoka Tano out of their own endings and drops them here, on Tatooine, with a child version of Skywalker about to be discovered. Master and apprentice, future and past, all colliding at once. This episode is only possible because of how far this community has already taken the channel. Hitting our last subscriber milestone turned a simple Mustafar what if into a full Clone Wars rewrite, and the support on that convinced us to go even bigger. The more the channel grows, the deeper we can dive into the galaxy, the stranger the timelines we can explore for Anakin, and the more risks we can take with stories like this one, where the Force itself becomes an active character. To celebrate, we're hiding a little surprise in this script. Somewhere in this video, there's going to be a secret code word tied to a very specific lore detail about Anakin's lightsaber and Ahsoka's connection to the world between worlds. If you catch it and drop that code word in the comments with a timestamp, you'll be entered into a giveaway for a lightsaber replica or a Clone Wars art print, your choice if you win. So before we jump fully into Tatooine, do me a favor, hit subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss any part of this movie-length timeline, and comment your prediction right now. With Ahsoka at his side, and the Force literally giving him a second chance, does Anakin still fall, or can they finally break the cycle and stop Vader from ever being born? Let's get right into it, because even after everything Anakin has done and survived, the hardest part might be looking his 9-year-old self in the eyes and trying to change destiny without destroying it. From here, we follow the twin sons down into Maz Espa, where Qui-Gon Jinn is about to meet a slave boy who already has a future watching him. Our story begins exactly where the movie does, before the Force breaks the rules, before Vader is redeemed, before Ahsoka walks between worlds. For now, the galaxy still thinks this is just another trade dispute. Out in the mid-rim, the Trade Federation blockade tightens around Naboo. Cold, gray battleships hang over the green world as vulture droids drift like carrion. On board one of those ships, 2 robed figures step out of the mist. Qui-Gon Jinn, the maverick Jedi Master, Obi-Wan Kenobi, his sharp, dutiful Padawan. They're here as negotiators, but the moment the doors seal, the tone shifts. Poison gas hisses. Destroyer droids roll in with shields flaring blue. Blades ignite as green and blue lightsabers cut through metal and smoke, and the mission turns from diplomacy into survival. They fight their way to the bridge as the Nymoidians panic. Orders are barked to invade Naboo. Battle droids deploy to the surface. When the Jedi stow away on the landing craft, and then escape in a battered Republic cruiser with Queen Amidala, canon is still on track. A lucky hit from the droid control ship tears through their shields. Fire licks across the hull as the ship limps away. R2 units scramble along the exterior. The hyperdrive is crippled. They need a safe harbor. That is how they fall toward Tatooine. Twin suns blaze over a world of sand and heat. The damaged cruiser sinks toward Mos Espa, a rough little stain of metal and stone against an endless desert. As the ramp lowers, the air hits like a furnace. Sand whips across the landing platform in sharp, needling gusts. The streets are narrow, sand-choked channels between low buildings. Junk dealers shout over each other, voices hoarse and eager. The smell is oil, sweat, and something fried in questionable grease. And under it all, there's a constant mechanical growl, the distant hum of pod racer engines being tuned for the upcoming Boonta Eve classic. Qui-Gon walks the streets with Jar Jar, Padmé disguised as a simple handmaiden, and R2 trundling along. Obi-Wan stays behind to guard the Queen and monitor repairs, still the disciplined student, still trusting his master's instincts even when he doesn't fully understand them. Padmé's eyes take in the poverty around her, the way slaves wear control chips and hopeless expressions. She's royalty hiding in plain sight, already forming quiet judgments about the Republic she serves. In Watto's cluttered junk shop, the air is cooler, but thicker with dust. Metal scraps are piled to the ceiling. Strange devices hum on benches. Watto flutters forward, wings buzzing, voice sharp as he haggles. And then, like in the film, a small boy steps out from behind a counter. Anakin Skywalker, bare feet on the rough floor, grease on his hands, bright, curious eyes that don't quite match the life of a slave. Qui-Gon watches him as he speaks, as Anakin casually mentions pod racing and building things no one taught him. There's a subtle stillness in the way the Jedi Master studies him, a quiet sense that the Force is saying, "Look, here." He tests the boy's reflexes. He feels that impossible presence in the Force, like standing at the edge of a vast ocean. A gifted slave boy, a worried mother, Shmi, who speaks of a mysterious birth. Master and Padawan both sense something, but only Qui-Gon dares to say it aloud. This child might be the chosen one. The Boonta Eve classic looms. Engines scream as pods are tested. The sun glares off repulsor fields. Qui-Gon makes his fateful bet with Watto, wagering on Anakin's victory and his freedom. As the stands begin to fill and the pod racers line up, destiny seems ready to repeat itself, but this time, when the crowd roars and the camera would usually stay on the starting grid, the Force is already moving. Somewhere in those stands, more than one Skywalker is about to be watching. Let's get right into it in the next section, because for Anakin, the moment he sees himself on that track, even after everything, the timeline will never look the same again. Our story begins again in the dark. The roar of the pod racers fades, the crowd goes silent, and for a heartbeat there is nothing. No sand, no twin suns, just that same endless void we opened on, where Anakin and Ahsoka are hanging between life, death, and something older than both. Only this time, the Force is not just watching, it is moving. Yoda once touched this place. In the Clone Wars, he followed the whisper of Qui-Gon into the heart of the cosmic force, learned that consciousness could endure, that destiny could bend without breaking. Qui-Gon studied this long before Naboo, long before anyone called Anakin Chosen One. The Force already showed them that, after death, time is softer. Moments bleed together, futures echo backwards. Anakin feels that now, as he floats in the dark. He remembers the Death Star. He remembers Luke, the mask coming off, the last breath. Yet when he looks down at himself here, he is not the broken, burning man from Mustafar or the dying Vader on the platform. His body is whole, older than Episode III. Anakin, shoulders broader, face lined by years inside the armor, but the suit is gone. No respirator, no weight. His lungs pull in air that isn't there, and his whole frame hums with raw force power like a lightsaber that's just been ignited. Across from him, Ahsoka stirs. She knows this feeling. She remembers the world between worlds, Ezra's hand yanking her out of Vader's killing blow, the white pathways stretching through time. She remembers doors to moments that hadn't happened yet. This isn't that. There are no portals, no choices, just a current dragging them. She frowns as the darkness presses closer, and she realizes this feels less like a rescue and more like a judgment. Then the Force speaks, not in words, but in vision. Flashes slam into them. Shmi's tired smile, young Anakin on a junkyard platform, goggles too big for his face. Palpatine's smirk in the Senate, then in the Opera House, then above the lava, clone troopers turning, blue and green blades falling, the temple burning. Luke on the Death Star, Leia on Endor, the galaxy in chains and then in fragile light, and at the center of it all, always, Skywalker. The last image lingers, Tatooine's twin suns, hanging over endless dunes. The Force doesn't explain, it shoves. There's a violent lurch, the void rips away as Anakin and Ahsoka are hurled downward, their stomachs dropping as if they've taken a blind jump into hyperspace with no ship. They hit sand. Heat slams into them. Air tears into their lungs. Anakin coughs, spitting grit, feeling the sting of real sunlight on his face for the first time since he was a boy. Ahsoka rolls onto her knees, Leku ringing as the thunder of engines roars over the next ridge. Pod racers. They scramble up the dune, bodies still buzzing with leftover power, and the Mos Espa arena sprawls before them, alive and deafening. Anakin stares, stunned, at the track where his childhood is about to unfold. Ahsoka's voice drops to a whisper. For Anakin, this is it. We've been thrown back to the very start of your path, and somewhere out there, a 9-year-old slave boy is about to start his first race, unaware that his future self is watching. And that is our story for today to set up the next chapter. Hope you guys enjoy what comes next, because even after everything, the Force has just rewritten the opening move. The suns are lower now over Mos Espa. Heat shimmers. Sand blows in tight, stinging streams between the buildings as two hooded figures step out of a cramped alley and into the noise of the streets. Anakin and Ahsoka keep their heads down, cloaks pulled tight. The smell of oil and ozone from pod racer engines mixes with sweat and dust as they move with the crowd, trying to get their bearings in this earlier, harsher version of the galaxy. For Anakin, every stone, every doorway is a ghost. He knows this street, he knows that corner. He remembers running across that broken step barefoot as a child, and his stride falters as the memory slams into the present. Ahsoka feels it through the Force as his aura spikes, sharp and raw, and she reaches out, steadying his elbow under the cloak. Before she can say anything, a familiar, grating voice cuts through the market. Watto, shouting in Huttas and Basic, arguing over prices, wings buzzing in irritation. Anakin's head snaps toward the sound, just as a small figure darts past them, clutching a parts order against his chest. It's him. 9-year-old Anakin Skywalker, sandy hair a mess, goggles bouncing at his neck, bare feet slapping the hot stone as he hurries toward Watto's shop. He laughs as he goes, calling back over his shoulder to someone inside. The sound hits older Anakin harder than any lightsaber. His breath catches. His hand starts to shake inside the cloak. For a heartbeat, he feels weight that isn't there. The phantom drag of metal fingers, the stiffness of a mechanical knee that once struggled to kneel on a lava-blackened platform. Vader's armor presses in on his mind even though his body is whole again, and he watches his younger self move with a freedom he lost for decades. Shmi steps into the doorway, wiping her hands on a worn cloth, smiling at her son with quiet pride. Innocent, tired, hopeful, Anakin stares at her like a man drowning who has just seen air. He takes half a step forward before Ahsoka's grip tightens. "Anakin," she murmurs, voice low but firm. "This is real, not a vision, not the world between worlds. The Force put us here for a reason, but if you talk to them now, you could change everything. We don't know how bad that could get." His chest burns. The urge to run to his mother, to drop to his knees and cling to her, to grab that little boy and shout about Padmé, about Obi-Wan, about Palpatine and Mustafar and the mask, roars up inside him. He could warn himself about every trap, every lie, every jump that leads to the edge, but then the fear hits. What if he makes it worse? What if saving Shmi earlier twists the prophecy? What if the Emperor rises anyway, just smarter, darker, with even more power? He's frozen between steps as the bell over Watto's door jingles again. At the far end of the street, two new figures enter the shop, a tall Jedi with long hair and calm eyes, and beside him a young woman in regal robes, dusty from travel. Qui-Gon Jinn, Padmé Amidala. Ahsoka's eyes widen. She realizes they are about to watch the exact moment that started everything, the meeting that put Skywalker on the board. Under his hood, Anakin's voice is barely a whisper. This time, I'm not just watching, and as the door swings shut behind Qui-Gon, our story begins to bend in a way the galaxy has never seen before. Hope you guys enjoy where this goes next, because even after everything, destiny is about to be challenged face to face. Out in the street, the door closes on Qui-Gon, and for a second, the noise of Mos Espa fades under a different kind of pressure. Ahsoka feels the Force pressing in around her. Not hostile, not gentle, just intent. She closes her eyes. Sand crunches under her boots. The twin suns burn on her montrals, and behind them, she can hear two heartbeats that don't know each other yet. One from inside the shop, one under the hood beside her. Master and apprentice, brothers, now split across time instead of a lava river. In her mind, the thoughts come fast. This is a fixed point. Naboo must still fall under blockade. Qui-Gon must still find the boy. The Council must still argue and doubt. If they shatter those events, the galaxy they're trying to save may never even exist. She has seen what happens when you pull someone out of fate the wrong way. The world between worlds is still a scar inside her. She turns to Anakin. We can't just walk in there and tell them everything. Her voice is low but firm. If we tell Qui-Gon the Chancellor is a Sith, if we march into the temple and say we're time travelers, they'll lock us down before we ever get near Palpatine. Anakin's hands clench under the cloak. He can feel the old anger crawling up his arms, like heat from Mustafar. The idea of Sidious, alive and smug on Coruscant again, makes his fingers itch for a lightsaber hilt. So we just let him keep playing his game? He snaps. I could storm the Senate right now, drag him out in front of everyone, end it before it begins. Ahsoka steps in front of him as a gust of hot wind kicks sand around their boots. Action meets resistance as the Force seems to hold its breath. And then what? No proof, no clones, no war yet. To them, he's just a popular politician. Two strangers with forged IDs assault the Chancellor and scream, "Sith?" She shakes her head. We're the villains in that story. The Jedi hunt us. The Senate brands us terrorists. Palpatine becomes a martyr instead of a monster. She breathes, steadies him, steadies herself. We don't break time. We bend it. We let the big events play out, but we twist the edges. Quiet nudges, small jumps instead of giant ones. We guide your younger self before Sidious ever gets his hooks in. We weaken Palpatine's long game without announcing we're here. Anakin looks back at the shop, at the faint sound of a boy's voice bragging about pod racing. For Anakin, that sound is a ghost of everything he lost. How? He asks. And there is fear under the anger now. Ahsoka follows the echo of engines revving in the distance. The Boonta Eve crowds are already gathering, the smell of fuel and hot metal drifting through the air. First, she says, we watch. We make sure the race still happens. We confirm the timeline is holding. Then we find the earliest safe moment to step into your life. Maybe as a mechanic, maybe as a sponsor, something small, something no one questions. She meets his eyes. We start by sitting in those stands, letting the Force show us where we can lean without snapping everything. And as the roar of pod racers rises like a storm on the horizon, our story begins to shift toward that first, dangerous intervention. Let's get right into it in the next part, because even after everything, the smallest change on Tatooine could rewrite the fate of the entire galaxy. The storm finally hits. Engines scream to life. Dust rolls like a living thing across the flats. The Boonta Eve Classic roars awake around them as banners snap in the hot Tatooine wind, and the crowd becomes one giant, restless creature made of shouts and credits and hope. Our story begins in the stands, not the pits. Two figures in borrowed cloaks sit shoulder to shoulder, hidden in the sea of gamblers and moisture farmers. Ahsoka keeps her hood low, Leku tucked, eyes scanning. Beside her, older Anakin Skywalker leans forward, as if the edge of the Durasteel railing is the only thing holding him back from jumping straight down to the starting grid. On the sand below, 9-year-old Anakin runs a hand along the side of his pod, short, barefoot, grease on his cheek. He looks up at the twin suns, then at the engines he built with his own hands, and his heart is racing so hard that older Anakin can feel it like an echo in his own chest. For Anakin, this is worse than any duel on a lava river. He remembers every spin-out, every time the stabilizers failed, every instant where a rock, a cable, or a rival's engine could have ended him right here. Jedi Knight, Darth Vader, redeemed father, all gone in a single burst of flame on the Tatooine track. The announcers shout over each other as pods line up. Names boom through the arena, and then Sebulba. The crowd surges, cheering for the Doug who always wins. Ahsoka's focus narrows as Sebulba stalks past Anakin's pod, tail flicking, eyes calculating. She doesn't just watch him, she listens through the Force. Metal scrapes, a coupling shifts. A tiny adjustment, casual to anyone else, but in the current of the Force, it feels like a blade sliding into place. Ahsoka inhales sharply. That one failure point at the wrong second could send the boy cartwheeling into the canyon wall. Snips! Older Anakin warns under his breath, but his voice is already shaking. He knows exactly how close he came to dying here. He also knows he can't sprint down there and ignite a lightsaber without snapping the timeline in half. So Ahsoka tests the edge instead. As the starting gong slams through the arena, she reaches out, not to save, to nudge. A single bolt on Sebulba's pod loosens a fraction more than he expects. A bit of debris that would have slammed into Anakin's engine shifts just enough to scrape the underside instead, burning away, but not detonating anything vital. The pods launch. Sand becomes a storm. Engines howl as the racers vanish into the canyon, and the stands become a blur of leaning bodies and shouted bets. Older Anakin tracks every corner from memory, every terrifying moment where he once survived by what felt like impossible luck. This time, the luck is shaped. When a rival pod explodes ahead, Ahsoka twists her fingers on her armrest. The shockwave still hits Anakin, still shoves him sideways, but instead of a wild spin, the Force settles under his hands like a steadying platform. He corrects. He breathes. He chooses the line, instead of just surviving it. Lap after lap, the race feels different. The danger is still real. Cables snap, rocks fall, Sebulba still rams and cheats, but the worst angles soften. Ahsoka lets most of it play out, only trimming the deadliest threads, and the boy responds with focus instead of panic. In the cockpit, young Skywalker starts to believe he's not just lucky, he's in control. He still slams engines with Sebulba, he still breaks free at the last moment, he still crosses the finish line first, as the crowd detonates into cheers, and Watto's face falls in disbelief. The core outcome holds, the slave boy wins his freedom. But as the victory rush hits, older Anakin staggers. It feels like the Force itself whiplashes through him, a cold backlash that doesn't come from the track or the crowd. The air around him ripples, sound warping for a heartbeat as if the entire moment wants to slide sideways. Ahsoka clutches the railing, eyes wide. Something old and vast is looking back along the current they just disturbed. Not a person in the stands, not Sebulba, not even Qui-Gon. Someone or something has noticed. And in that instant, as young Anakin raises his arms in triumph, both of them feel a new presence pressing at the edge of the timeline, like a hand reaching through the world between worlds itself. Hope you guys enjoy where this is going, because the next shift won't be as gentle. That pressure at the edge of the timeline doesn't just brush against Tatooine, it ripples outward. It climbs off the sand, past the podrace stands, and shoots straight toward the shining heart of the Republic. On Coruscant, our story begins again for a moment in a very different kind of arena. The Senate building hums with distant debate. Speeders streak past glowing towers. Inside a quiet office, Senator Palpatine is mid-conversation with a junior aide when he simply stops. His words die. His eyes narrow, like a conductor hearing a wrong note in a symphony he thought he controlled alone. The air feels colder. The lights seem a shade dimmer. Palpatine lets his polite smile fade as he reaches out with the Force, not as the kind, concerned politician, but as Darth Sidious, master of the dark side. Power coils around him as he stretches his awareness far beyond Coruscant, past the core worlds, out toward that insignificant dust ball called Tatooine. He feels it, just for a heartbeat, a presence that should not exist. It's like brushing against a scar that hasn't been made yet, familiar, furious, burned by lava and betrayal. The echo of Vader, without the armor, the weight of an older Anakin Skywalker pressed like a fingerprint into the current. Palpatine's fingers twitch as the sensation flickers. It's gone before he can grasp it, but the aftertaste remains, sharp and electric. There is danger here, and it coils directly around the Chosen One prophecy he has spent years twisting. Someone else is touching his piece on the board, someone who knows what that boy from Tatooine is meant to become. At almost the same moment, in the Jedi Temple across the city, everything goes strangely still. The council chamber is quiet between meetings. No senators, no reports. Just Coruscant's evening light pouring through the tall windows as Yoda and Mace Windu stand alone, watching the traffic streams like rivers of stars. Yoda's ears droop slightly, his eyes close. The Force feels thick, like fog pressed against the glass. He leans on his Geimer stick and exhales. Clouded the future is, he murmurs, but then his brow furrows deeper. More than before, it shifts, as if many paths the galaxy tries to walk at once. Mace doesn't feel fear, but he feels strain, threads pulling in different directions. The dark side isn't just hiding something, it's tugging, twisting, like time itself is trying to jump tracks. He glances at Yoda, quietly admitting that even his vaunted clarity through Vapad can't cut through this storm. Both Sith and Jedi sense it, both feel the Force behaving in ways it shouldn't, yet neither can see the real cause. No vision of a grown Ahsoka Tano walking beside a redeemed Anakin. No image of a scarred Skywalker standing over his own childhood pod racer. For Anakin, their presence remains a hidden variable, a secret the cosmic force is still guarding. Back on Tatooine, that secret presses harder. As the suns sink and the crowd finally begins to thin, Ahsoka stiffens, her Leku twitch. The roar of the arena fades under a sudden, crushing weight in the Force, like the galaxy just looked directly at them. She doesn't know why, but she feels it in her bones. They are running out of time faster than they realized, and on Coruscant, far away, Palpatine's smile slowly returns. This time it's thinner, sharper. He turns back to the window, already adjusting plans, deciding that certain pieces will have to move sooner, just in case, because something has changed, and the next move will not be his alone. Hope you guys enjoy where this is heading, because the storm that's coming will hit both timelines at once. Night settles over the Lars-style hut like a blanket. The twin suns are gone. The dunes are just black shapes against a colder sky. Inside, it's all warm lamplight and shadows. Shmi moves slowly around the small room, straightening a rough blanket here, setting a dented cup aside there, humming a soft Tatooine lullaby that older Anakin hasn't heard in decades. The walls are bare, the table is scarred, but there's a piece here that the galaxy will try very hard to steal. On the low bed, 9-year-old Anakin Skywalker fights sleep. His eyes keep drifting to the little carved toy in his hands, a tiny pod racer he's built from scrap. The edges are rough, the lines aren't perfect, but the pride in his face is. He clutches it to his chest as his breathing finally slows. At the doorway, just outside the pool of light, 2 figures stand cloaked in darkness. Ahsoka's montrals are barely outlined. Beside her, older Anakin is a statue. No armor now, no black mask, just a man who once was Vader, staring at the one person he could never save. Shmi leans down and brushes a strand of hair from young Anakin's forehead. Her face is unlined, no pain from Tusken torture, no years of quiet fear. She just looks tired and proud and gentle. She whispers, "Sleep, Ani," and the words hit older Anakin like a lightsaber through the chest. He exhales, a shaky sound that isn't quite a sob. "I still see it," he whispers to Ahsoka, eyes never leaving his mother. "Every night, the campfires, the cages. I hear her calling my name, and I'm too late. I feel the blade in my hand when I cut them down." His fingers curl, remembering the power, the rage, the sand soaked in blood instead of lava. Ahsoka doesn't flinch. She's seen him as Vader. She's heard that voice before, only then it came through a vocoder. "That was the crack," Anakin says quietly. "That's where he got in. Palpatine. He found that pain, and he never let it close." For a moment, there's only Shmi's humming and the faint desert wind. Then Ahsoka answers. "Then don't open it the same way. You barging in there, telling her everything, trying to fix every second? That's just another kind of chain, for Anakin and for you." He finally looks at her, eyes wet, furious at himself. "So what? I just watch again?" Ahsoka shakes her head. "No, you become what you never had. Not a puppet master, a guardian, a teacher who knows what attachment really costs, and still chooses to love. You can't erase his fear of losing her, but you can prepare him for it." Older Anakin steps closer to the doorway as Shmi dims the lamp. Young Anakin is almost asleep now, toy still clutched in his hand. Shadows stretch across the room like long fingers, but they don't touch the bed. He lowers his head, voice barely more than breath. "I won't let you become him again," he tells the sleeping boy. "Not Vader, not ever. Whatever the prophecy says, whatever the Force thinks it wants. I will burn every timeline before I watch you fall the same way." Outside, the wind shifts. The lamp flickers once, as if something vast is listening, and as the night deepens on Tatooine, the second chance truly begins. Morning comes harsh and bright on Tatooine. The suns are already climbing when the dust of Mos Espa begins to move again, and our story begins not in a pod race arena, but in the crowded marketplace where destinies are about to brush shoulders. Ahsoka stands at a vendor's stall, pretending to study a rack of scrap circuitry. The smells of oil, spice, and roasted meat mix in the air. Her leku twitch under her cloak as she stretches out through the Force, feeling the currents of life around her, searching for one familiar, steady flame. Behind her, a few paces back, the older Anakin Skywalker waits in the shadow of a stone archway, hood up, head bowed, his mechanical hand hidden in his sleeve. 2 Anakins exist on this street right now, and the tension is like standing on a narrow platform over lava, knowing one wrong jump will send the whole galaxy into a new kind of fire. Through the crowd, Qui-Gon moves, tall and calm, guiding Padmé and the younger Anakin toward the ship. The boy is still buzzing with victory, with freedom, with the raw power he doesn't understand. Master and apprentice, mentor and child, walking toward the future that once led straight to Vader. Ahsoka steps away from the stall, short stride, deep breath, longer exhale as she locks onto Qui-Gon's presence. He is different from the council she remembers. Less marble, more earth, less rule, more listening. The living Force hums around him like a low, steady chord. She angles her path just right and deliberately bumps into him, her shoulder tapping his arm as a droid screeches past. The crowd surges, voices rising, and for a heartbeat they are pressed close. "Forgive me, Master Jedi," she says, eyes lowered, voice calm but careful. Qui-Gon steadies her automatically, then freezes. His hand lingers a second too long. His gaze sharpens. As their eyes meet, the Force roars between them. Not loud, but deep, like a memory he hasn't lived yet. Something about her feels like battlefields and temples, like a war that hasn't started. "You are travelers?" he asks slowly. You feel far from where you should be. Behind them, older Anakin's heart hammers. He keeps his hood low. He can hear his younger self laughing up ahead, talking to Padmé about Coruscant, about Jedi, about how nothing will ever be the same. Every word is a knife and a promise. Ahsoka holds Qui-Gon's gaze. "We've been many places," she answers, "seen many futures for the boy you're escorting." She doesn't say Anakin. She doesn't say Chosen One. She lets the words hang, loaded, a half-drawn lightsaber. Qui-Gon's eyes flick toward the child, then back to her. There is no fear in him, only curiosity and a growing unsettled recognition in the Force, as if some part of him has heard her voice echoing from another lifetime. "What do you mean?" he presses, gentle but firm. "If you keep listening the way you do now," Ahsoka says softly, "you'll understand when it matters. Just don't let the Council close your ears." Even after everything, she still risks this much. A vendor shouts, a cart overturns, the moment snaps. Pattern interrupted, Ahsoka steps back, bowing slightly. "Safe travels, Master Jedi." She turns away before he can ask more, moving toward the alley where the older Skywalker waits. Qui-Gon watches them go, his brow furrowed. He can't place it, but the Force around those two feels like storm clouds on the horizon, like a warning and a blessing at the same time. In the shade of the alley, Anakin finally breathes. "You think he bought it?" he mutters. "He noticed," Ahsoka replies. "That's enough." The door's cracked open, but if we push too hard, too fast, it'll slam shut, and the Jedi won't listen at all. Not to you, not to me, not about Sidious. For Anakin, the name is a ghost. For Qui-Gon, it's a future he hasn't met. And as the shipyard waits ahead, the next test is already forming. Let's get right into it in the next part, and hope you guys enjoy where this new path leads, because that is our story for today, so far. The shipyard waits, but before they can reach it, destiny pulls them back to a moment Anakin has never escaped. Tatooine, orange sky, long shadows on the sand as the suns slide down toward the dune sea. Our story begins again at the farewell we all know. Young Anakin stands in front of Shmi, eyes bright and wet, clutching that little bag of belongings. The Naboo starship hums in the distance, ramp down, Qui-Gon waiting with that patient, steady posture. Anakin says the words like a vow carved in stone. He will come back. He will free her, he promises. Shmi smiles through the pain as the wind kicks up dust around their feet, but this time, older Anakin is there too. He stands far back, near a cluster of junked parts, cloak pulled tight, hand pressed over his heart as he watches his smaller self hug his mother. The same scene, the same promise, but now he hears every syllable like an accusation. For Anakin, this is the fracture point. He remembers the chains never broken, the sand turned to ash in his mind, the way that unkept promise helped push him toward Vader. His fingers curl, nails biting into his palm, as the Force shows him both timelines at once. He could run forward. He could grab Shmi, grab the boy, grab Qui-Gon, and tear the whole thing apart. Instead, he stays still, because Ahsoka is at his side. She watches young Skywalker walk toward the ramp with Qui-Gon, little steps carrying the weight of the galaxy. Ahsoka's voice is low, urgent. If they stay on Tatooine, they can maybe save Shmi sooner, but they lose direct influence over the Jedi, over the Council, over Palpatine. If they leave with the ship, they ride the spine of the story itself. Every jump from here touches the heart of canon. She makes the call. We go with them, quietly. They move as the goodbyes end. As the ramp begins to close, Ahsoka angles them toward a side access hatch, where a single Naboo crewman is half distracted, checking a datapad. Anakin feels the deck plates under his boots and shivers. This is the ship that first carried him away from slavery and toward the temple, toward a blue blade and a burning platform over lava. Even after everything, stepping onto it again feels like stepping into a memory he can finally rewrite. Ahsoka lifts a hand, just a subtle gesture. Her voice brushes the crewman's mind like a breeze. He blinks, steps aside. Convinced he's already sealed this section, they slip past him, boots silent on polished metal, and drop down into a dim cargo bay that smells of fuel, metal, and desert dust tracked in from the ramp. There, they go still. Together, they pull their presence in tight, masking their Force signatures until they are no more than background noise against the engines. Anakin closes his eyes, feeling the vibrations he remembers from his first jump to the stars, the same hum that once carried him toward Coruscant and the Council. Above them, the ramp seals, the ship lifts, Tatooine shrinks in the small porthole, a dusty marble falling away into the dark. Ahsoka looks at Anakin, her gaze steady. From this point on, they're not circling the story anymore, they're strapped to it. Every word, every choice, every tiny misstep can branch the timeline into chaos. And somewhere on this same ship, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi sit with a 9-year-old boy who has no idea that two shadows of his future are hiding just a few decks below, waiting to change everything. Up above, the boy laughs. Down here, the future argues and whispers. The cargo bay is dim. The only real light comes from the soft blue glow of the hyperdrive conduit running along the wall, pulsing in time with the distant hum of engines. Crates cast long shadows as the ship cuts through hyperspace, and every now and then they hear the muffled footsteps of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan moving on the deck above, completely unaware that Vader's redemption and his lost Padawan are hiding below. Anakin paces between two containers, cloak brushing the floor. He's restless, dangerous energy wrapped in a calmer face. Ahsoka sits on a crate, watching him, feeling the Force swirl tighter every time he turns. "We tell him everything," Anakin finally says. Short, sharp, certain. Padmé, the war, Order 66, Palpatine, Mustafar, Luke and Leia, all of it. If he knows how it ends, he doesn't make my mistakes. He stops, staring at his own metal hand, as if he can still smell the lava. For Anakin, knowledge is armor now. If someone had told him on that floating platform what he was about to become, he's sure he would have jumped the other way. Ahsoka shakes her head. "He's 9, Sky Guy. You drop decades of pain on him, and you don't get a hero. You get a scared kid who thinks the galaxy is rigged against him." Her voice is low, but firm as the engines hum under their feet. Fear of loss is what started all this. You hand that fear to him early, you might push him to Sidious faster. Master and apprentice, warriors who walked through the worst futures, now fighting over how much truth a child can survive. Anakin fires back. If we hold back, Palpatine walks right through him again. He'll say the Jedi are blind, and he'll be right. I can tell him exactly how the Chancellor moves. Every lie, every promise. We can cut Sidious off before he ever gets close. Ahsoka hops down from the crate as the hyperdrive's blue glow flickers over her montrals. Or we turn his life into a script. Tell him he has to avoid Mustafar, has to protect Padmé, has to become this perfect chosen one. That's a self-fulfilling trap. The more he clings, the more the dark side can twist him. She steps closer, softer now. We guide him, not control him. So they start to build a compromise in the shadows of the cargo bay. They won't show up as long-lost relatives or time travelers. They'll present themselves as mysterious guardians of the Force, wanderers who see possibilities. They'll talk about attachment without saying Padmé's name, talk about trust without pointing straight at Obi-Wan, talk about fear without replaying every scream from the temple. Specific events stay locked away unless the Force itself pushes them to reveal more. If Palpatine moves too early, if the Council ignores a critical warning, then and only then do they open another page of the future. Anakin is about to argue again when the ship suddenly lurches. The stars outside smear, then snap. The hyperdrive whines. Crates slide as the whole freighter shudders, yanking them out of hyperspace far too soon. An alarm blares once, then dies. Silence, except for the ticking of cooling metal. Ahsoka's eyes go wide. She reaches out, and the Force rushes over her like cold water. "That wasn't just a malfunction," she whispers. "It's moving us again. Even after everything, we're still not the ones steering." Above them, footsteps start to run. The careful plan they just built in the dark is already being tested as their first real choice, with young Anakin races toward them faster than they expected, and when they see where they've dropped out, the entire mission shifts. They don't land in a quiet hangar, they drop straight into a storm. Outside the viewport, Coruscant explodes into view. Endless city lights, rivers of speeders weaving between skyscrapers like veins of fire. The Jedi Temple spires rise ahead of them, calm and pale against the chaos, an island of stone and light that both of them know far too well. For Anakin, it's home and a graveyard at the same time. He stares as the temple grows larger. Short breath, tight jaw. That was where he became a knight, where he became Vader, where his blade turned on children. Ahsoka watches him from the corner of her eye as the transport dives into a traffic lane, the hum of repulsors vibrating through the deck plates while the galaxy's capital races past. On the other side of the lane, the Senate building curves up into the sky like a Durasteel crown. Once, Anakin looked at that dome and saw democracy, saw hope, saw a platform where Padmé stood and fought for peace. Now his stomach twists. He sees years of whispers in dark offices, a kindly old man's hand on his shoulder, the soft voice of Palpatine telling him he was special, that the Council was blind, that only he could bring order. Feels different now, doesn't it? Ahsoka murmurs. It's a nest of vipers, Anakin answers quietly. I just didn't see the fangs. The Force shivers around him as anger and shame try to rise, but he drags in a breath and lets it out slow. Even after everything, he can still choose how he reacts. The transport banks toward a Senate landing platform already crowded with delegates, security droids, and camera crews. Queen Amidala's sleek ship glides in, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's escort shuttle settling behind it, just like in the movie we all know. But our story begins to twist as Ahsoka tugs Anakin's sleeve. Now, she says. They move with the crowd as the ramp lowers. Cloaks up, hoods down, heads bowed just enough. They let the flow of bodies hide them as they slip past a security scan arch, nudging the electronics with the slightest brush of the Force so the readings blur. A Jedi Knight turns his head, frowning, as if he felt a ripple. But by then, Anakin and Ahsoka are gone, swallowed in the bustle. On the main platform, Palpatine steps forward to greet Amidala. His smile is warm, his bow deep, his voice honey smooth as he speaks of sympathy and concern for Naboo. But in mid-sentence, he freezes for half a heartbeat. There it is again, that strange echo in the Force, like a voice shouting from far away and long ago. His eyes flick toward the crowd, searching, hunting for a ghost that should not exist. Hidden along the edge of the platform, pressed behind a group of aides, Anakin feels that searching gaze brush past him like a cold wind. His fingers twitch toward where his lightsaber would hang, but it isn't there. No armor, no black mask, just Skywalker, exposed. Ahsoka leans in, voice barely a breath. Next move is the most dangerous yet, she says. We're going to walk into the Jedi Temple, right under the Council's nose, and make sure we're there when they test the boy version of you. She looks up at the distant spires. Let's get right into it. For Anakin, the real battle is finally beginning. Hope you guys enjoy where this timeline is heading, because that is our story for today, or at least the calm before the storm. Our story begins again at the base of those familiar spires. The Jedi Temple rises over Coruscant, calm and perfect. The beating heart of an order that has no idea its own doom is already walking toward the front steps. Anakin and Ahsoka move with the crowd, robes borrowed from a lower-level market, hoods low. The wide entrance doors part with a soft hiss as they step into the place that made them and broke them. Inside, the temple is almost blinding. Towering columns stretch up into vaulted ceilings. Soft golden light pours through high windows, catching dust motes that drift like tiny stars. The polished floor reflects everything. Statues of ancient Jedi, banners, the quiet flow of robed figures crossing the grand hall. Off to the side, they hear it. Training remotes humming, young voices laughing. A group of younglings practice with little helmets, wooden blades in their hands, as a patient instructor guides their stances. It's peaceful. It's beautiful. It's the same hall that, in another life, will echo with blaster fire and the snap hiss of Anakin's lightsaber as he walks through smoke and screams. Ahsoka stops, just for a second. Her throat tightens as she watches a Twi'lek girl try to block a training bolt and flinch when she misses. She remembers the day she left this place in disgrace, the day they didn't trust her. Even after everything, she still loves this temple, and that makes the ache worse. Beside her, Anakin feels it like a physical weight. Every corridor is a crime scene he hasn't committed yet. The council chamber where he will kneel, the archives where he will send clones, the halls where his boots will splash through blood. For Anakin, this is walking through his own ghost story while still breathing. They can't freeze. Not here, not now. Ahsoka pulls her hood down just enough to show her face to a passing administrative droid, then gives the smallest wave of her fingers. Her voice is calm, casual. They are wandering Force sensitives, petitioners from the mid-rim, here to inquire about testing. The droid's photoreceptors blink once, twice. It nods, logs them as visitors, and glides away. They repeat the trick with minor Jedi at checkpoints, nothing flashy, no big display of power, just low-level suggestions, nudging attention away, smoothing over questions. They stay in public corridors, always near other visitors, always moving. Then the nostalgia hits like a punch. Plo Koon strides past, robes rustling, offering a kind nod to a group of younglings. Ahsoka's chest twists. That's her old master, but he doesn't know her yet. Ki-Adi-Mundi debates something with another council member near a balcony, his voice firm, confident, sure the Sith are gone. A younger Mace Windu passes at the far end of the hall, his presence sharp and focused, not yet worn down by war. Two veterans of the Clone Wars slip by them in silence, hidden in plain sight. They follow the path Ahsoka remembers from the archives, toward the evaluation rooms, where promising children are tested, where a 9-year-old slave from Tatooine will stand and turn the galaxy. As they approach the junction, the air changes, the force seems to thicken, humming around them. Down a nearby hallway, Master Yoda is walking with another knight, his cane tapping lightly against the floor. Yoda stops mid-stride, completely still, his ears tilt, his eyes narrow. Slowly, impossibly slowly, he turns his head toward the corridor where Anakin and Ahsoka are hiding in the flow of traffic. He stares at empty air and frowns, as if he's just sensed something that should not exist. Ahsoka's hand closes on Anakin's sleeve. If Yoda takes one more step, if he follows that feeling, everything they're planning inside this temple might end before it even begins. Yoda does take one more step, but not toward them. He stops in the middle of the corridor. The temple noise falls away. His eyes drift shut as he reaches down into the Force, farther than he usually dares, in a place this crowded. At first, it's the same storm he's been feeling for years, the dark side, a pressure at the edges of his mind. But then there's something else, a second ripple. A stranger current, like two notes of the same song played out of time with each other, overlapping, grinding against destiny itself. He follows it, carefully, slowly. The stone under his feet feels colder as he sinks deeper. Master and apprentice, council and senate, all of it fades as that echo sharpens into a presence that is both familiar and wrong. It is Skywalker, and it is not. It is the Chosen One, and something standing beside him that should not yet exist. The vision hits him like a sudden drop. He sees a black armored figure striding through this very temple, a red blade hissing to life as younglings flinch back in terror. He sees clones, helmets lowering, blue and green lightsabers flaring in confusion as blaster fire erupts in perfect unison. He sees Ahsoka, older, harder, her white blades clashing against Maul's crimson on Mandalore as the city burns around them. Then everything jumps. A new platform, a new battlefield. Luke Skywalker, older than the boy on Tatooine, but still so young, stands on a narrow bridge in Cloud City, his blue lightsaber locked against Vader's crimson blade. Father and son, master and student, locked in a duel that should be decades away, balanced over a drop that might as well be the whole galaxy. Yoda gasps and the images shatter. He opens his eyes to the hallway, to the traffic, to the temple that is still whole. The Force still roars in his ears, but the details are already slipping away, like lava cooling into black stone. He knows only this. The Chosen One's path is more tangled than he feared, twisted into knots of futures that do not belong to this moment. Illusion or warning? The dark side's shroud is too thick. Every time he tries to pull one thread clear, it frays into a dozen more. Across the hall, Ahsoka feels it hit, a spike of pressure, a hand almost brushing against her in the current. Yoda is close, too close. She sucks in a breath and pulls her presence tight, dimming herself the way she learned hiding from clones and inquisitors. Her bright, familiar signature sinks, becoming just another ripple in the temple sea. "Anakin," she whispers, not with her voice, but with the Force, a sharp nudge to his mind. "Down, now." For Anakin, it's instinct. He remembers hiding from Sidious on the Death Star, remembers muting the monster of Vader so Luke could move unseen. He folds in on himself, pulling his power back, letting the storm inside him go quiet. Yoda turns his head, as if listening. For a heartbeat, it feels like everything might snap, like he'll see them. Older faces in a younger war, and then the pattern breaks. Instead of following that disturbance, Yoda lets out a slow breath. He turns away from the invisible thread tugging at him and walks toward the council chamber. If the Force wishes to speak, it will speak more clearly. That has always been his way. He does not know that by choosing not to chase this echo, he is walking into a meeting that will now go very differently, because two ghosts from the future are already waiting to change it. Let's get right into it in the next part. Hope you guys enjoy where this is going, because that is our story for today's twist in Yoda's sight. Our story begins again in the High Council chamber, but this time, the Force is already cheating. Young Anakin stands alone in the center ring of light, tiny compared to the towering windows, tiny compared to the 12 masters staring down at him. The room is quiet, too quiet, and every heartbeat sounds like a pod racer engine about to stall. For Anakin, this is scarier than any sandstorm, scarier than any jump off a pod racing ramp. Mace leans forward, his voice is flat, testing. He asks about fear, about leaving his mother, about attachment. As those words hit, the boy's chest tightens, the way it did when Shmi disappeared in the crowd on market days, and he thought she was gone forever. But just beyond the great doors, hidden behind a carved arch, in the shadows of the antechamber, two other figures feel that spike of panic through the Force. Ahsoka closes her eyes. Older, calmer, carrying the weight of wars that haven't happened yet, she reaches out, not with words, with presence. A cool current flows from her, slipping under the door like a breeze through temple stones. She doesn't shove, she doesn't control, she just offers steady breathing, a memory of laughter on a gunship, the quiet trust of a master's hand on a shoulder. Beside her, the older Anakin Skywalker listens to his younger self's fear, like hearing an old recording of his own heartbeat. He adds his presence to Ahsoka's, rougher around the edges but steady, a solid platform under churning water. He doesn't tell the boy to be fearless. He pushes the opposite. It's okay to feel it. It's okay to say it. Inside, the child's first instinct is the one we remember from canon, to deny, to push back. His mouth even starts to form the words, that he's not afraid, that he's fine, that he can handle anything. But then that strange calm brushes against his mind. The pressure in his chest loosens just enough. I am afraid, he admits, voice small but clear. The masters shift, Mace's eyes narrow, but there's a flicker of interest. Anakin goes on, stumbling at first, then finding a strange courage. I miss my mom. I don't want anything bad to happen to her, but I want to learn why I feel this way. I want to be strong enough that it doesn't control me. The room changes, not by much, but enough. Ki-Adi looks thoughtful. Plo Koon's gaze softens. Even Yoda tilts his head, listening not just to the words, but to the way the boy is holding his fear instead of burying it. Master and apprentice, future and past, are now sharing one fragile confession. Outside, Ahsoka exhales. Older Anakin's metal fingers flex, remembering a different council, a different lifetime, where he lied and it all went wrong. Mace still speaks up, voice edged with concern. The shadow around the boy is there. The attachment is strong. Yoda still warns that fear leads down a dangerous path. But the judgment doesn't land like a hammer this time. It lands like a warning given to someone they might actually help. The seed is different. Not he is too dangerous, but if guided, this one may face his fear. And Ahsoka, listening in the dark, quietly promises the Force that she will be that guide, even after everything. Because if this is the new beginning for Skywalker, then hope you guys enjoy seeing how far it can go. And in the next part, the Council's decision will bend the entire galaxy. So while Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan debate this strange boy and the living force in the shadows of the council chamber, someone else is already moving. Someone who knows exactly how badly this room can fail. Ahsoka pulls her borrowed cloak tighter as she steps out of the side corridor. The temple feels the same. The marble floors, the hum of distant training remotes. But the air is younger, lighter, like the galaxy is still holding its breath. She walks with purpose as she moves through security checkpoints and registrar droids, using old codes she remembers from another lifetime and little nudges of the Force to slide past questions. She doesn't call herself Jedi, not yet. On the datapad, she signs in as a wandering Force adept seeking guidance. It's a technicality, it's also her shield. Our story begins for her not on Mustafar, not on a burning platform over a lava river, but at the foot of the same lift that once carried a terrified Padawan to her trial. The doors hiss open. She rides up alone. Every floor that clicks past is another memory she has to push down. The day they turned on her, the day she walked away, the day she watched this order die. The council chamber doors part, light spills out, 12 chairs, 12 legends. Yoda, small and still, Mace, carved from stone, Plo Koon, whose voice once called her Little Soka. Now they see only a hooded stranger. She bows, keeping her montrals shadowed. Her voice is steady, older than she looks. She tells them she has come from far away, from a distant war-torn future, where the Jedi fall and the Republic burns. She speaks slowly, choosing every word like a careful lightsaber swing. A hidden Sith Lord, a politician at the very heart of Coruscant, a war built to break them. She never says Palpatine, she never says Vader, but the images are there. Murmurs ripple through the Masters as the Force stirs uncomfortably. Ki-Adi-Mundi leans forward, skeptical, calling it impossible, perhaps a dark side illusion sent to shake their faith. Time, he insists, does not jump like that. Visions mislead, prophecies twist. Yoda closes his eyes instead. He hears the quiver in her breath. He feels the scar tissue in her presence, something like Anakin and yet not, like a survivor standing on ashes no one else can see. Plo Koon studies her posture, the way her hand keeps drifting toward where a blade would hang. There is truth here, and there is danger. They press her. Names, dates, battles. She dodges, offering glimpses of clone armies, temple alarms, younglings running. She refuses to draw the full map, knowing that if she says too much the Force itself might recoil. Then Mace cuts through the noise. His voice is low, but it hits like a jump into cold air. If what you say is true, he asks, why now? Why appear at the very moment the Chosen One is discovered? What is it you want the Jedi to do differently? Ahsoka lifts her head. The hood slips back just enough for Plo Koon to see her eyes. And she finally answers, or does she? Because in the next part, what she asks for will decide whether this council survives, or creates an even darker future for Anakin Skywalker. Hope you guys enjoy where this is going, because the next words out of her mouth might change the entire galaxy. Ahsoka finally speaks. She doesn't ask for mercy, she doesn't ask to go home, she asks for something far more dangerous. Our story begins to change, she says quietly, if you accept that the Sith are not out there in the shadows, but already sitting in your light. The room tenses, Mace's jaw locks, Obi-Wan's eyes flick from her to Anakin, to Qui-Gon, back to the Council. For Anakin, it feels like standing on a Mustafar platform again. One wrong word, away from everything sliding into the lava. Ahsoka takes a breath, then another. She decides to jump. The Sith have already infiltrated the Senate, she says. One of them will rise to the Chancellorship. He will use a manufactured war to destroy the Jedi and turn the galaxy into his empire. Silence. No one moves a blade, but it feels like a lightsaber just ignited in the center of the chamber. She doesn't say Palpatine. She can't. The Force hums a warning in her bones. Names lock timelines, patterns can bend them. So instead, she paints the outline of a monster. He'll come to you as a savior, she continues. There will be a crisis. He'll ask for emergency powers. You'll find a clone army waiting, perfectly prepared, like someone knew the war was coming long before you did. He'll play both sides, Republic and Separatists, Jedi and politicians, until you're all too deep to climb out. Ki-Adi leans forward, frowning. The Senate is vast. Corruption, yes, but this is not proof of Sith. Mace nods, voice like Durasteel. We deal with greedy senators every day. To accuse the entire institution because of one unverified vision would shatter what little trust remains between the Order and the people we serve. Yoda's ears dip, eyes on Ahsoka, not unkind. Dangerous these claims are. Act on fear, the Jedi must not. Tools of panic and rumor we will become if every shadow we name Sith without seeing the blade. For a heartbeat, Ahsoka wants to scream. She has seen the temple burning. She has seen Anakin as Vader, marching through smoke with a blue saber turned executioner. Instead, she pivots. I'm not asking you to arrest anyone, she says. I'm not asking you to storm the Senate or tear down the Republic. I'm asking you to watch. When a war appears right, when a new chancellor asks for more power than any before him, when a clone army just happens to exist, Don't assume it's luck. Don't assume the Sith will attack you with fleets. They'll come wrapped in law and applause. And then, the pattern interrupt. Yoda closes his eyes. Everyone expects a dismissal, a polite, final no. Instead, he opens them and says, "Remain, you will, in the temple, as an observer, only, under watch, quiet, meditate on your warnings, we shall." The future just shifted again, and none of them realize how far the jump really is. Hope you guys enjoy where this is heading, because the Council has just agreed to keep a ghost of their own downfall inside their walls. The council chamber fades behind him, the whispers, the doubts, the weight of a whole galaxy he's already watched burn. For Anakin, the real test is waiting down the corridor. Young Anakin has been left in a quiet temple training room, the kind Obi-Wan used to pace through as a Padawan. The door hisses shut. Silence. The boy stands at a narrow balcony, tiny hands on the rail, staring out at the endless Coruscant skyline as speeders stream like fireflies between the towers. It should feel exciting. Instead, it just feels far from home. He blinks hard. He can almost smell the sand. Hear Shmi calling him in from the junkyard. The hum of traffic replaces the roar of pod racers, and that hurts more than he expected. This morning, he was a slave on Tatooine. Tonight, he's in the Jedi Temple, and somehow it feels like he lost something instead of being freed. Behind him, a presence settles in the room like a cloak, calm, heavy, familiar in a way that makes the Force itself shiver. A hooded figure steps out from the shadows near the training remotes. No lightsaber drawn, no blade ignited, just slow, deliberate footsteps. Older Anakin keeps his head bowed as he approaches, his mechanical hand hidden in his sleeve. "Long day," the stranger says quietly. Young Skywalker startles, then relaxes. The voice is deep, steady, carrying a calm authority that feels safer than the Council's cold stares. "Who are you?" The hood tilts. "A guardian of the Force," he answers, letting the lie settle with just enough truth inside it. "We watch over special individuals, those the Force has plans for." The boy's eyes widen. "Like me?" Older Anakin finally steps close enough to really see him. The freckles, the hopeful eyes, the same little frown line when he's trying not to look afraid. Even after everything, hearing his own voice this young nearly breaks him. "Like you," he says. "You left someone behind on Tatooine." Anakin nods, throat tight. "My mom, Shmi. They said I can't go back. What if I never see her again?" The older man's jaw works. For a heartbeat, he's back on a different platform, lava roaring below, Obi-Wan shouting his name as everything falls apart. He forces it down. "Fear of losing someone you love is natural," he says. "It means your heart works, but if you cling to that fear, others can use it. They can promise to take the pain away, and in doing so, take you." The boy frowns. "The Jedi say no attachments." "Attachments aren't the problem," the Guardian answers. "Not by themselves. The problem is when you let them own you. You can love your mother, care about your friends, and still choose what's right. You learn to carry that love without letting it chain your choices." Young Anakin studies him, sensing something deeper he can't name. "Will I really become a Jedi?" he asks. "A great one?" Older Anakin lets the hood shadow the scars the boy doesn't know he has yet. His answer is a promise and a warning. "You'll be the most powerful Jedi who ever lived, if you learn to choose who you are before others choose for you." And with that, the Force itself seems to hold its breath, waiting to see which way Skywalker will jump. Hope you guys enjoy where this is going, because this is the first crack in Destiny's armor, and that is our story for today, or at least for this moment. The Force holds its breath, and then it moves. Over the next few days on Coruscant, Anakin's life quietly splits in two. There is the temple everyone can see, with its grand halls and strict routines. And then there are the Forgotten Corners, where a boy from Tatooine meets two ghosts of the future who refuse to let him become Vader. Our story begins in an unused training room. Lights dim, practice blades stacked in the corner. Ahsoka sits cross-legged on the floor, across from young Anakin. Older Anakin, leaning against the wall, arms folded. No robes, no ceremony, just three people and the low hum of the Force around them as speeders drift past outside. "Close your eyes," older Anakin says. Don't push anything away, just notice it. Anakin tries. At first, it's just noise. The temple, Coruscant, the galaxy. Then, the ache hits him. His mother, the sand, the feeling of being left behind. His little hands curl into fists as a tear slips out, and he flinches like he's done something wrong. Ahsoka leans forward. That's it, don't fight it, just breathe with it. Her voice is calm as she guides him through simple patterns. In for 4 counts. Hold, out for 4, again. As he breathes, she tells him that missing someone doesn't make him weak, and that the Force is not asking him to stop loving his mother, only to see that love clearly. The next day, they meet in one of the temple gardens. Sunlight filters down through the dome. Waterfalls whisper. Anakin paces, frustrated after another stiff council evaluation. They told him to control his fear, to let go of his attachments. They gave him rules, but no map for the storm inside. Ahsoka drops a small stone into his palm. Be angry at this, she says. Let it stand in for everything. He squeezes it, muttering about the masters, about being called dangerous. Older Anakin watches as the boy rants, then gently asks, "Where do you feel that in your body?" No Jedi Master has ever asked him that. They walk him through it. Tight chest, hot face, shaking hands. They show him how to notice the heat, how to let a single breath cool it just a little. It's a tiny exercise, a minor frustration, but for Anakin, it's the first time anyone has treated his emotions like a language to learn, instead of a threat to erase. Days blur into a quiet montage. Observation decks at twilight, Coruscant glowing beneath them as transports drift like fireflies. Empty corridors, where Ahsoka turns his fear into questions instead of shame. Meditation nooks where older Anakin admits, openly, that love, fear, and anger are all part of being alive, and that pretending they don't exist is what nearly destroyed him. In the official sessions, Masters talk about detachment. In these secret meetings, they talk about choice. In the council chamber, Anakin feels tested. Here, he feels seen. He starts to idolize them, these traveling mentors who seem to understand him the way Qui-Gon does, but deeper. He copies the way older Anakin stands, the way Ahsoka breathes before she speaks. For Anakin, this is the first time the path of a Jedi doesn't feel like a cage, and somewhere else in the temple, a rumor spreads. The boy from Tatooine has found his own teachers. Obi-Wan hears it in passing, unofficial lessons, strange off-worlders, the chosen child meeting with them between council summons. He says nothing to Qui-Gon. Instead, one evening, he slips into the shadows of an unused training room, masking his presence in the Force, ready to quietly observe. He expects to see a reckless traveler misleading a vulnerable child. He is not ready to see a scarred knight with Anakin's face, teaching the boy how to hold his fear without falling. And as Obi-Wan steps closer, older Anakin turns, eyes narrowing as if he has sensed this moment a lifetime before. Older Anakin's gaze snaps to the doorway. Obi-Wan freezes. For a heartbeat, master and future apprentice, brothers across time, just stare at each other as the training room hums with quiet energy. Our story begins here, in this small, unused chamber, not on a lava platform, but the tension feels just as sharp. Young Anakin sits cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed, tiny hands resting on his knees. Older Anakin kneels opposite him, guiding his breathing, while Ahsoka stands off to the side, arms folded, watching the door like she expected this moment. Again, older Anakin says softly, in, hold, out, let the fear pass through, don't push it away, just don't let it drive you. His voice is calm, but there's a weight in it, a weight the boy doesn't understand, a weight Obi-Wan can't ignore. Obi-Wan leans against the frame, staying just out of sight. He reaches out with the Force, careful, controlled, the way Qui-Gon taught him. He brushes past the bright spark of young Skywalker, that blazing potential that almost burns his senses, and touches the stranger, and that's when everything inside him jolts. The presence he finds is Anakin, and not. It's the same core light, the same wild, unstable storm he felt on Tatooine, but older, heavier, scarred. There are shadows wrapped around it like cooled glass over molten rock. hints of Vader without the name, pain that smells of burnt metal and ash. Regret coils there, deep and thick, as if this man has stood over too many bodies and watched too many futures die. Obi-Wan pulls back as if stung. His breath catches. For a second, he almost says Anakin out loud. His mind races. Qui-Gon trusts the boy. Qui-Gon believes this child is the chosen one, the hope of the galaxy. Obi-Wan wants to honor that, but these two strangers were not approved by the Council. They are shaping the boy already, slipping lessons between breaths, between heartbeats, and every instinct tells him this is dangerous. Yet that familiarity tugs at him, the way the older man tilts his head, the way his hand hovers near where a lightsaber would hang, even unarmed, the way his eyes soften when the boy stumbles. It feels like watching a memory he hasn't lived yet. After the session, Obi-Wan steps into the corridor and waits. Ahsoka exits first. He falls into step beside her. "You handle him well," Obi-Wan says, voice polite but edged. For someone the Council never assigned, she doesn't flinch. "I've seen what he could become if no one does," she answers. "He has power. He'll need guidance." "From you?" Obi-Wan presses. "From your companion? Who are you really, and why are you so invested in this boy?" Ahsoka meets his gaze. For a moment, it looks like she might tell him everything. Instead, she offers a half-truth. "Let's just say I've seen a future where no one listens. I don't want that one." Obi-Wan should report them. He knows that. He should go straight to Qui-Gon, to the Council, demand answers. Instead, he stops. No, he will watch, personally. For Anakin, he decides to keep his own quiet eye on the boy, and on these ghosts in the Force, planting the seed for a bond that might grow very differently this time. And that choice, even after everything, is where our next twist begins. So let's get right into it in the next section. Hope you guys enjoy how far this timeline is already drifting. And as that choice is made on the temple steps, the camera jumps light years away. On Coruscant, in the Senate, the crisis of Naboo is already unfolding. Queen Amidala stands in the center of that vast circular chamber, tiny against the ocean of floating pods and echoing voices. Her plea is the same as in canon. Her people are starving, her world is blockaded, the Trade Federation is hiding behind procedure while the galaxy watches. Valorum tries to help, but his words are swallowed by rules and rival delegations, his authority already bleeding out. Up in the gallery, older Anakin and Ahsoka watch in silence. The blue light of the central podium washes over them as Palpatine's pod glides forward, his tone gentle, his expression perfectly concerned. He nudges Padmé toward a vote of no confidence in Valorum, each phrase a blade hidden inside soft velvet. Anakin's hands curl into fists as the senators murmur, as the trap he once fell for begins to spring again. He knows this performance. He remembers how it ends. Master and apprentice, brothers, later burning above a lava river, while this same man sits on a higher platform and calls it peace. Ahsoka leans closer as the vote ripples through the chamber, as Valorum's platform sinks. She watches Sidious's future mask smile, every beat of the scene landing exactly where he wants it. She can feel Anakin's anger rising through the Force, and she nudges his elbow, a quiet reminder to breathe, to stay here, not back in the armor of Vader. When the session adjourns, they slip away into a shadowed corridor overlooking the traffic lanes. Speeders roar past in streaks of light. The galaxy moves on, unaware that a Sith Lord just took his first real step to supreme power. Our story begins again, right here, Ahsoka says softly. This vote, it's the first domino. Naboo falls, Palpatine rises, the war comes, and the Order never sees it until it's too late. Anakin stares out at the endless city, short breath, long memory. He wants to march back in and ignite a lightsaber in the Chancellor's office to end it before it starts. But they both know that kind of jump would shatter everything. They can't just shout, "He's the Sith." No one believed Ahsoka when she exposed simple corruption. Why would they accept this? So they talk strategy, they talk Padmé. If they can't topple Sidious yet, they can at least harden his target. Ahsoka suggests nudging the Queen towards something she never had time to build in the original timeline, a true coalition. Senators like Bail Organa, Mothma, even those minor worlds that will later form the rebel spine. If Naboo's answer to invasion is not isolation and emergency powers, but alliances and shared resistance, then when Palpatine reaches for control later, the galaxy might reach back. For Anakin, this is worse than any duel. No clear enemy to swing at, just conversations, choices, and the slow grind of politics. Ahsoka makes her decision. On the return trip to Naboo, she will approach Padmé directly, not as some mysterious time traveler, but as a former Jedi who walked away and now helps worlds survive manipulation. She'll offer quiet advice, subtle warnings, and a different path, and as their transport prepares to depart, the Force hums around them, as if waiting to see whether this small change will be enough to break an empire before it's ever born. Hope you guys enjoy where this timeline is heading, because the next move Ahsoka makes with Padmé will decide just how hard Palpatine has to fight for his power. The Naboo cruiser cuts through hyperspace. The stars are streaks. The engines hum like a held breath, as if the galaxy itself is waiting to see what Padmé will do with the warning Ahsoka just hinted at. Padmé sits alone in her small royal quarters. No decoy, no robes. Just a simple gown and a tired young queen with her hair half undone as she studies star charts and political reports on a holoscreen. Trade routes flicker in blue. Senate vote tallies scroll past in red. Her brow is furrowed as she traces how one blockade on Naboo could spiral into a precedent for control across 100 systems. There is a soft chime at the door. Padmé straightens, expecting a handmaiden or Qui-Gon. Instead, the door slides open and Ahsoka steps in, silhouetted by the corridor lights. No helmet now, no borrowed armor, just Ahsoka Tano, older than anyone else on this ship in experience, younger than most of them in years. "Your Highness," she starts, then shakes her head. "Padmé, I was hoping we could talk, privately." Our story begins to bend here, in a quiet room instead of a battlefield. Padmé hesitates, then nods and locks the door. The hum of the ship seems to fade as Ahsoka sits opposite her, folding her hands, choosing her words like she's handling an active lightsaber. "I used to be a Jedi," Ahsoka says, short, direct, no titles, no ceremony. "I've seen a republic fall. I've watched good people vote away freedom because they were afraid. I know what a war does to idealists. And to chancellors." Padmé's eyes narrow. She's skeptical, but she's listening. "The Jedi say the Sith are back. Is that what you're talking about?" Ahsoka shakes her head. "The Sith are part of it, but they win because the system lets them. First comes fear, a crisis. People demand safety, so the Senate hands over temporary emergency powers to one strong leader. They build an army for protection. Clones, droids, conscripts, it doesn't matter. Once that army exists, it can be turned inward on anyone who disagrees." She leans forward as the starfield outside shifts. Senators who start out like you get tired. They compromise once, then again. They tell themselves it's for peace. They look up one day and realize they've helped crown an emperor without ever meaning to. Padmé studies her, searching for lies and finding only scars in Ahsoka's voice, the weight of things she doesn't name. She doesn't get a name like Palpatine. She doesn't get a date for Order 66, but she gets patterns. She gets the way Ahsoka describes floor debates, committee votes, backroom deals, like she's walked those halls for years. "How do you know all this?" Padmé finally asks. Ahsoka exhales. "Because I've watched it happen once already, and for Anakin, for you, I'm not going to watch it again." There is a long pause. Then Padmé's expression hardens, not with fear, but with resolve. "What do you want me to do?" Ahsoka's answer is simple. "Start now, quietly. Find senators you trust. People like Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, anyone who won't trade liberty for security when things get bad. Build a network before the crisis comes, not after." Padmé nods slowly as the ship shutters back into real space, Naboo growing large in the viewport. She doesn't realize she's just agreed to plant the first seeds of a rebellion years early. Ahsoka does, and as the Queen of Naboo rises to reclaim her world, the Force stirs around them, because if Padmé moves first, Sidious will have to show his hand much sooner. Let's get right into what that means when they hit the ground, and the next video might show you a choice you never imagined.
Their cruiser drops through the clouds and Naboo unfolds beneath them. Green, peaceful, wounded. Rolling plains sweep out like a painting as the ship cuts low over the lakes. Theed rises ahead, marble and waterfalls gleaming in the sun, but the sky is wrong. Massive Trade Federation control ships hang like bruises over the planet, and smaller droid craft patrol the air, turning that beautiful skyline into a quiet prison for the whole galaxy. Our story begins on the return to Naboo, but this time the Force has stacked the board differently. In the briefing chamber, holomaps of Theed flicker. The Queen stands tall, flanked by Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, young Anakin hovering near the back. Older Anakin and Ahsoka share a look. They've seen worlds like this before: Ryloth, Onderon, Mandalore, occupied, humiliated, ready to explode. Ahsoka steps forward. Her voice is calm, but there's that edge of command she earned in the Clone Wars. She doesn't talk about a single heroic charge. She talks about cells, about flexibility, Gungan scouts operating independently, Naboo resistance pockets able to keep fighting even if the main push fails. She sketches out decentralized command nodes, backup rally points, and silent signals the Gungans can pass through the swamps. Padmé listens. This isn't the clean ceremonial battle she imagined. This is messy, living resistance, and it makes their alliance stronger because even after everything Ahsoka has seen, she believes ordinary people can adapt faster than any droid army. Then older Anakin speaks up. He doesn't pace, he doesn't grandstand, he just stares at the hollow of the control ship and quietly describes exactly how Trade Federation droids respond when their main signal is disrupted, how their ranks hesitate, how their starfighters swarm to protect relay hubs first, not the command bridge. He frames it all as theory, as if the Force is whispering tactics into his ear. Qui-Gon studies him. Obi-Wan folds his arms. These visions are far too specific, but when Anakin suggests targeting secondary relays on the surface in sync with a starfighter strike on the control ship, the plan suddenly clicks into something leaner and far more dangerous. The battle plan shifts. It's no longer just a take feed and hope. Ground teams move with one purpose: hit the droid relays, cut local control, and keep the Gungan shield wall alive. In space, pilots coordinate to draw fighters away, then punch a hole straight toward the hangars and the ship's central array. Contingency after contingency is laid down if the Queen is captured, if the Gungan army breaks, if the starfighters are forced to retreat. There's always a next move, and then a pattern interrupt. In the original timeline, young Skywalker is left to stay in that cockpit and hope the Force turns accidents into miracles. Here, Ahsoka quietly pulls aside a veteran Naboo pilot, someone she can feel the Force moving around. She asks him to shadow the boy's starfighter to watch his six to be ready to take over if this strange destiny the Force loves to gamble with suddenly turns lethal. For Anakin, the hangar will still be a turning point, but this time he won't be alone on that platform between childhood and legend. Hope you guys enjoy where this new version of the Battle of Naboo is heading, because the moment those hangar doors open, everything changes again. And as the hangar doors slide open on Naboo, the camera doesn't follow Anakin this time. It drops down into the heart of the Theed power generator, where the real storm is waiting. Our story begins in that echoing chamber of metal and light. Catwalks hang over endless darkness. Red energy beams pulse like a heartbeat through the core. The air hums with raw power as Darth Maul steps forward, cloak falling away, eyes locked on Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. His double-bladed lightsaber snaps to life with that iconic snarl, one crimson blade, then two, cutting a line of fire between the Jedi and the fate of the galaxy. Qui-Gon moves first. Obi-Wan is right behind him. Their blue blades crash against Maul's staff as the three of them explode into motion, boots hammering across the narrow platforms as the Force guides every strike. For a moment, it's exactly how we remember it. Sparks fly. Maul kicks Obi-Wan off the upper catwalk. Qui-Gon drives forward, relentless, determined, and then the pattern breaks. A new hum cuts through the chaos as a small figure lands on a side platform with a controlled jump, metal groaning under the impact. Ahsoka Tano straightens, eyes wide but focused, and ignites not one, but two lightsabers. Twin white-blue blades roar to life, crossing in front of her as she stares down at Maul. Obi-Wan's eyes flick to her for half a heartbeat. Qui-Gon feels the disturbance, the unfamiliar presence that still rings with the light side. Maul actually hesitates. He knows that silhouette. He remembers Mandalore, even if, for him, it hasn't happened yet. Ahsoka doesn't give him time to think. She dives in from the flank as Qui-Gon re-engages from the front, her acrobatic style turning the catwalk into a moving platform of opportunity. Short step, flip, blade angled low as she catches Maul's leg strike. She's seen this move before. She knows how he loves to sweep low, to bait a high guard, then stab for the center. Maul is forced to split his attention, one crimson blade catching Qui-Gon's power, the other whipping around to parry Ahsoka's precise, almost surgical attacks. Obi-Wan recovers and joins from the rear, and suddenly, Maul is in the center of a storm he never trained for. Master and apprentice, and a future commander who has fought him at his absolute peak, now pressing him on three fronts. As their blades clash, Ahsoka's breath catches. This is Maul before the spider legs, before the years of exile and madness, but the rage is the same. The cunning is the same. She feels that old fear rise up, the memory of Mandalore's burning platforms and the way he almost broke her. But here, if she wins, she can cut off so much suffering before it ever reaches Anakin, before it ever shapes Vader. The battle drives them toward the energy corridor. Timing shifts, footwork changes. Ahsoka knocks Maul off his rhythm, just enough that when they spill into the hallway of red shields, they're all in different positions. The first barrier slams down with a thunderous crack of light. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are on one side, Maul and Ahsoka are on the other. The next set of shields ignite in sequence, trapping her in a single glowing cell of humming energy with her old nemesis as the Jedi are forced to watch, helpless, from behind the barrier. Maul turns, lips curling into a slow, predatory smile. Ahsoka tightens her grip, sabers low, heart pounding as the Force goes very, very quiet around them. And in this new timeline, the duel of the fates resets with Ahsoka Tano alone against Darth Maul. Hope you guys enjoy where this fight is going, because what happens in the next few seconds could rewrite everything for Anakin. Above Naboo, the war ignites. N1 starfighters blaze out of the atmosphere, gold holes catching the light as droid fighters swarm in like a metal storm around the looming Trade Federation control ship. Inside the hangar, young Anakin Skywalker climbs into the cockpit again. His hands shake, his eyes are wide, but this time he pauses. He remembers older Anakin's voice on the way up. Slow your breathing, feel the Force, don't let the fear drive the jump before you're ready. He closes his eyes, inhales, and actually finishes the breathing exercise before he powers up the fighter. The canopy seals with a hiss as the N1 lifts. Space opens around him, and for a heartbeat, he's just a kid again, spinning out into chaos. Then a calm voice cuts through the noise on his headset. "Bravo 3, this is Bravo Leader. I've got your wing. Stay on my mark." Ahsoka kept her promise. She made sure he wouldn't be alone. Sliding in just off his port side is a seasoned Naboo ace, a pilot who's flown drills against droid control ships for years, who has survived enough dogfights to know when to push and when to pull back. Parallel fighters, parallel lives, one guiding the other. Droid fighters streak toward them as the formation tightens. Green bolts flash past the cockpit as the control ship swells ahead like a metal moon. Anakin grips the controls, but instead of mashing every button, he tracks Bravo Leader's movements, matching the roll, copying the dive, letting discipline ride alongside instinct. He still improvises. He still takes the risks. When a trio of droid fighters break off to flank the Naboo line, Anakin peels away faster than ordered, looping under a debris field as the two of them have their trajectories cross in a tight spiral. But now he's not screaming in panic. He's calling his vector, trusting the comms, trusting the plan. Responsibility sits on his shoulders with the same weight as the yoke. Inside the control ship's shields, the battle turns brutal. Explosions ripple across the hull as the platform of starfighters weaves through turbo laser fire. Older Anakin's quiet coaching echoes in the boy's mind. The core is here. The main reactor feeds these conduits. Hit the power, not just the armor. This isn't random luck anymore. It's a map, half memory, half intuition. He dives toward a cluster of towers most pilots would ignore. Bravo leader protests, then sees the pattern as Anakin threads his N1 through a narrow trench and locks onto a line of glowing nodes. Those aren't just guns, Anakin says, voice steady now. They're control relays. He squeezes the triggers. Blue torpedoes streak out, slamming into the key systems that feed the droid army below. The shockwave blooms outward as the control ship begins to die from the inside. For Anakin, the victory feels earned, not accidental. And as the droids on Naboo start to fall silent mid-stride, the galaxy quietly shifts around a boy who just proved he can choose how to use his power. But in changing this moment, he's also changing the future that made him. And the Force is not done testing what that means, even after everything. Down in the Theed generator complex, the Force cashes in that change. Red energy barriers flicker and fall. Heat ripples off the endless chasm. Maul stalks forward with that Predator's grin as his double-bladed lightsaber spins. But this time, when the first shield drops, he doesn't meet a single Jedi Master. He meets Ahsoka Tano. She's bruised from the earlier clash. Her breathing is sharp. One white blade hums in her hand as she squares off on the narrow platform. The second hilt is clipped at her belt, her arm still stinging from a glancing hit. She's not here to win a duel of pride. She's here to buy seconds. And as Maul lunges, as their blades lock together and the platform vibrates beneath them, she holds him just long enough for Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan to sprint back into view. The next barrier dies. Qui-Gon ignites his green lightsaber. Obi-Wan's blue snaps to life beside him. Master and apprentice, and the former apprentice who knows them both from a future they haven't lived yet, now fighting for the fate of the galaxy together. The three of them crash into Maul like a storm. Obi-Wan presses the flank. Qui-Gon drives the center. Ahsoka darts in and out, catching Maul's eye with unpredictable footwork and sudden jumps he's never seen from a Padawan of this era. The red blades whirl as the platform carries them deeper over the abyss, and then they hit the moment that should have defined everything. In canon, Maul feints at Obi-Wan, spins, and drives his saber straight through Qui-Gon's chest. Here, the move is the same. Qui-Gon is just a fraction too slow. Maul's strike comes in low, cruel, and perfect. For a heartbeat, history tries to repeat itself. Ahsoka moves. She throws herself across the gap, igniting her second lightsaber mid-air. Her desperate parry slams down between Maul's blade and Qui-Gon's heart. The impact screams through her arms. Sparks shower the platform. Maul's balance breaks for half a second. Obi-Wan is already there. He surges forward as Qui-Gon recovers, their blades crossing in a perfect, unplanned rhythm. Blue and green catch Maul high and low, driving him back step by step until his heel finds nothing but open air. His yellow eyes flare with recognition as he looks at Ahsoka. Not again. He falls. The red saber spins away into the darkness. There is no triumphant cut to black, just the echo of a Sith Lord's scream, vanishing into the endless shaft. Silence hits harder than any blow. Qui-Gon stands there alive, chest heaving, realizing just how close he came. Obi-Wan stares at Ahsoka, trying to fit her speed, her timing, that selfless jump into the box where he keeps Padawans. It doesn't fit, she doesn't fit. And Ahsoka is shaking, not from fear, but from memory. She remembers Mandalore, she remembers holding Maul in a ray shield, the weight of knowing who he served, what was coming. Now she's killed him years too early, tearing a page out of the timeline she grew up in. For Anakin, for everyone he lost, she's just rewritten the first act of the tragedy that made Vader. The implications ripple immediately. With Qui-Gon alive, there is no deathbed promise forcing Obi-Wan to train the boy alone. That maverick belief in the living force, in the Chosen One, doesn't fade into legend. It stays in the room. It stays in front of Anakin Skywalker. As the three of them regroup near the edge of the platform, the hum of distant generators filling the space, Qui-Gon finally turns to Ahsoka. His gaze is calm, but the force around him is alert, curious, almost wary. "You fight like a Jedi," he says slowly, "but the force around you and your connection to the boy, it's different." He takes a breath, studying her as if she's another prophecy standing in front of him. "Who are you really?" And in that quiet question, the future she's been trying not to reveal suddenly feels impossible to hide. Let's get right into what she says next, because that is our story for today, and the Force is only just beginning to test how far this new path can go, even after everything. Hope you guys enjoy where this timeline is heading. The answer doesn't come in the council chamber. It comes later when the cheering has finally started to fade. The Theed gardens are quiet. Lanterns glow between marble columns as distant music from the victory celebrations drifts over the fountains. Our story begins here as Qui-Gon walks along a stone path, cloak brushing the grass, following the faint pull of the Force toward two familiar, unsettling presences waiting in the shadows. Ahsoka steps out first. The hood that's hidden her in the palace all day falls back. White and blue montrals, orange skin traced with older lines. Her eyes are tired but sharp. She's not the young commander from the Clone Wars anymore. She looks like someone who has seen the galaxy burn and somehow kept walking through the ashes. "Master Jinn," she says quietly, and there's no more dancing around it now. "I'm not from your time." He studies her. The night breeze moves the leaves. Young Anakin is somewhere in the city, celebrating, while an older Anakin Skywalker stands just behind her, like a silent storm. Qui-Gon feels the weight between them as clearly as a locked pair of blades on a narrow platform above lava. Ahsoka doesn't give him riddles, not this time. She tells him she is from a possible future where Anakin does not become a great Jedi Knight, but a Sith Lord, where the name Skywalker becomes Vader and the Jedi Temple burns. She describes clones turning on their generals, blue lightsaber blades cutting down friends in the smoke, the council chambers littered with fallen masters. Qui-Gon's first reaction is simple. No, it's too much, too far. This boy he just freed, this boy he's staked his life and reputation on, becoming that. But as he reaches out through the living force, he feels it. No deception, no hunger for power, only grief and a fierce, almost desperate determination to stop that future from ever touching this child. His disbelief cracks, then slowly gives way to a focused, almost dangerous curiosity. "How do you know this?" he asks. That's when the older Anakin steps forward. He still doesn't say his name. He doesn't have to. The way he moves, the way the Force bends around him, the way his gaze flicks toward the city where his younger self is laughing, it all betrays him. "I've lived it," he answers. His voice is low, roughened by years Qui-Gon hasn't seen. "I walked that path. I wore that armor. I became the thing she's warning you about, and the Force pulled me back, gave me a second chance to guide the boy before he ever takes that first wrong jump. So the garden seems to narrow around them. For Anakin, this is the moment someone finally knows the full horror he's running from. For Qui-Gon, it's like standing in front of another prophecy come to life. He looks from Ahsoka to the older Skywalker, feeling the current of the cosmic force swirling, rewriting everything the Council thinks it understands. If the Force truly sent you here, Qui-Gon says slowly, eyes wide, does that mean the prophecy still demands he walk through darkness? Or is it giving us permission to break it? And before either of them can answer, something in the Force shudders, like the galaxy itself is listening for what they'll decide next. The chamber is still, but the Force is not. It's moving, adjusting, like a river that just hit a brand new rock in its path. In the days after Naboo, that pressure never lets up. Visions, whispers, that strange shudder Ahsoka and the older Skywalker felt in the council hall. It all builds until even the most stubborn masters can't ignore it. Yoda meditates and sees twin silhouettes around the boy, one bright, one scarred, both locked to his fate. Mace feels a storm on the edge of the galaxy. The council doesn't suddenly become fearless, but they do become afraid of saying no to the will of the Force itself. So when Qui-Gon stands in front of them again, healed, renewed, and absolutely certain, the argument hits different. He doesn't just say Anakin is the chosen one. He says calmly that the Force has already bent time to keep this child alive. Ahsoka backs him, describing a war they can't imagine and a Vader they refuse to believe. Even after everything, they still doubt her details, but not the weight behind her eyes. Reluctantly, they agree. Anakin will be trained. Qui-Gon will take him as his Padawan. But the Force has clearly decided this will not be a normal apprenticeship. Our story begins again in the training rooms of the temple, but the lineup is completely different. Qui-Gon is the official master, the anchor. Obi-Wan is now a senior Padawan on the verge of knighthood, assigned to stay with them as a stabilizing presence. Ahsoka is given no title, no rank, yet she's always there, drifting at the edge of formal lessons, pulling Anakin aside when his emotions spike. And older Anakin, the man who once wore the armor of Vader, moves like a shadow at the margins, introduced only as a strange knight from another front who will occasionally advise the boy. Early sessions feel almost like a four-way duel without blades. Obi-Wan walks young Anakin through basic forms, correcting his grip, teaching him how to let the lightsaber move with the Force instead of raw muscle. Qui-Gon pauses them mid-swing, turning drills into philosophy, asking the boy why he wants power and what he thinks it's for. Ahsoka steps in afterward, helping him name the fear behind every angry jump, turning "I'm fine" into "I'm scared she'll die like mom." And then there's older Skywalker. He never says, "I did this." He never admits, "I became Vader." Instead, he tells stories about other worlds, about a Jedi who trusted the wrong friend, about a war where clones were turned into weapons with a single command. He talks about lava and loss and a broken platform on a distant world without ever saying Mustafar. For Anakin, these aren't ghost tales. They're warnings, wrapped in love. This is where the path splits from canon. No lonely boy caught between a rigid code and a chancellor who flatters every insecurity. Instead, every time Anakin flares up, someone is there to catch him, to acknowledge the storm, and then redirect it. Qui-Gon questions him, Obi-Wan challenges him, Ahsoka grounds him. Older Anakin quietly steers him away from the cliffs he once jumped from. Years begin to slide toward the episode Dooku era, and the question hangs over all of them like a silent duel. Will this new training triad and its hidden guardian be enough to blunt Sidious? Or will the dark side simply rewrite its own plan around them? Hope you guys enjoy where this is heading, because the galaxy is about to find out That is our story for today, or at least the calm before the next storm. Let's get right into it when we see what Sidious does next. Our story begins again, not on Mustafar, but in the quiet corridors of the Senate years later, where the real war is supposed to be fought with words instead of blades. Time jumps. The pod race dust has long settled. Naboo's victory celebrations are old holos now. Padmé Amidala is no longer the wide-eyed queen, racing from crisis to crisis. She's a seasoned senator, moving through the galaxy's most dangerous battlefield, committee rooms, and back-channel meetings. She learns when to speak on the open platform and when to whisper in the shadows as she slowly gathers a circle of colleagues who share one simple fear. A republic that keeps reaching for emergency powers will forget how to stand on its own. Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, a few younger delegates from worlds most people can't even place on a star map, they start comparing notes. Why are security bills always tied to trade blockades? Why do corporate guilds keep needing protection? The pattern is faint, but it's there, and Padmé is the one quietly threading it together. She doesn't do it alone. In the maintenance levels beneath the Senate, in crowded sky lanes where no one looks twice at a cloaked figure, Ahsoka Tano moves like a ghost. The older Ahsoka uses the Force to eavesdrop on tense negotiations as she slips data chips into trusted hands. A shipping manifest here, a private holo of a Trade Federation official dining with a known separatist sympathizer there. Nothing that screams Sith Lord, but enough to show that someone is arranging crises like pieces on a Dejarik board. Every now and then, a bill that should have sailed through doesn't. A sweeping security act gets delayed for review. A proposal to centralize the Republic's defense under a single supreme commander is quietly laughed out of the room after Padmé's coalition exposes how much power the corporate guilds would gain from it. For Anakin, watching from the visitor's gallery with Obi-Wan at his side, it feels like seeing a different duel, one where the lightsabers are words and the lava is public fear. In his private office, Palpatine feels it too. Votes he counted on go sideways. Senators he thought were pliable suddenly arrive armed with inconvenient facts. He smiles in public, but the mask is thinner now as he's forced to water down proposals, to reframe temporary measures again and again. The dark side still coils around him, still clouds the future, but when he reaches forward with his will, the timeline feels slippery. The clear road to the Clone Wars that he once saw now forks and twists, as if the Force itself is refusing to lock into that old catastrophic groove. And then the pattern interrupts. In canon, one crisis on Geonosis slams the galaxy into total war overnight. Here, the first separatist flare-ups and border skirmishes don't ignite a firestorm, they freeze everything. Trade routes close, intelligence reports contradict each other, fleets reposition, and just stare across empty space. It's not open war, it's a long, suffocating, cold tension that gives Anakin and Ahsoka more time to move, but it also gives Sidious more room to reinvent his plan. Hope you guys enjoy where this is going, because the next move in this slow burn standoff is going to hit a lot harder than anyone expects, even after everything they've already changed. That cold tension settles over the galaxy, and the Jedi Temple becomes a pressure cooker. Outside, Sidious rewrites his plans. Inside, the Force is quietly rewriting Anakin Skywalker. We jump forward. The training rooms of the temple echo with the crack of a lightsaber meeting another training blade. A teenage Anakin moves across the polished floor, taller, more grounded, his stance tighter than the reckless fighter we remember from episode 2002. Our story begins here with 3 Skywalkers in one room: the boy, the man he might become, and the former Padawan who refuses to let either of them fall. Ahsoka and older Anakin stand at the edge of the mat as the younger Anakin runs through an advanced sequence. Short strike, parry, jump into a spinning overhead cut. His saber hums as he flows from Sorsu defense into a sharp gem. So counter the two of them, watching every angle. The two of them have their arms folded as he finishes the form, breathing hard, sweat on his brow, waiting for approval that doesn't come right away. Again, older Anakin says, but his voice is calm now, not the harsh bark of Vader. As the boy moves, Ahsoka steps in, tapping his wrist, nudging his elbow, forcing him to narrow his focus. He wants to overpower the form with raw power, but they're training something else: control, patience, the ability to stop. Between drills, they sit cross-legged on the floor. The room is quiet. The Force feels like a still lake. Ahsoka leads the meditation, her voice low. She has him picture Shmi, picture Qui-Gon, picture Obi-Wan, everyone he loves. Then she has him visualize releasing them, letting the image drift away into the light. His chest tightens, his hands clench, but she keeps him there until his breathing evens out. He learns to feel the ache without letting it own him. On missions, older Anakin makes it worse, on purpose. A burning village, 2 transports, not enough time. Instead of letting the boy sprint off to save everyone, he orders him to take one group while clones handle the other. Anakin glares, argues, almost snaps, but he obeys. When they return, and some lives were lost anyway, the lesson hits hard. Sometimes the need to control everything costs more than it saves. Later in the hangar, the older Skywalker finally shares pieces of his past life. Not all of it, just enough. A commander he tried to micromanage, a battle where he ignored advice, rushed ahead, and a friend died covering his mistake. He never says names like Mustafar or Vader, but the pain in his eyes is real. Being afraid to lose everyone, he tells the boy, made me lose more than I can ever get back. For Anakin, those words land like a blow. He still struggles. A botched escort mission brings a flash of temper, his blade biting too hard into a training remote later that night. Quiet moments in the dorms leave him staring at the ceiling, whispering his mother's name into the dark. But now he has language for it. Fear, attachment, anger, tools to meet those feelings instead of burying them. And then the pattern shatters. Ahsoka and Qui-Gon are in this council chamber when a report comes in from the Outer Rim. Slavers on Tatooine. Increased raids, brutality. The words hit Anakin like a physical strike as he listens outside the door. The temple corridor seems to tilt under his feet. He doesn't storm in, he walks jaw tight, heart racing, and stands before Qui-Gon and Ahsoka. His voice is steady, but the Force around him roars. Master, Tano, I need permission to go back, to free my mother before it's too late. The room goes silent. Qui-Gon looks at Ahsoka. Ahsoka looks at the older Anakin in the doorway. 3 futures hang in the air at once, and the Force itself seems to hold its breath as they decide whether to let the Chosen One face the wound that made Vader years too early. Hope you guys enjoy where this is heading, because whatever choice they make here is going to change more than just one life. The choice is made off the record. No council briefing, no official mission log, just a quiet agreement that if the Force dragged a redeemed Vader back in time, it might be because this wound needs to be faced first. So our story begins not on Naboo, but under the twin suns of Tatooine. The ship drops out of hyperspace, the desert world fills the viewport. For Anakin, it's like staring straight into a memory he's tried to bury under years of Jedi training and war. Older Anakin stands beside Qui-Gon and Ahsoka as teenage Anakin leans forward in the co-pilot seat, knuckles white on the controls. Qui-Gon keeps his voice calm. He frames it as an investigation, as a duty. They're here to trace slave trade routes to see how far the rot has spread in the Outer Rim. That's the story they'll tell Obi-Wan, the Council, anyone who asks. But everyone in this cockpit knows the truth. They are coming back for one woman, The ramp drops in Mos Espa, and the smell hits him first. Hot sand, engine coolant, fried street food, the same alleys, the same shouting, the same junk dealers arguing over parts. Teenage Anakin looks around stunned at how small everything feels now. Older Anakin walks a step behind him, every footfall heavy, like he's walking over the ghost of his own childhood. They move through the market as the suns beat down. Ahsoka's eyes are everywhere, watching for threats, feeling the current of the Force. She remembers stories of this place, of a boy who won a pod race and a freedom he never really got to enjoy. Now she's walking beside two versions of that boy at once. The hut is exactly where Anakin remembers it. Same crooked door frame, same patched up roof. His heart is pounding, short, sharp, louder with every step as he approaches the home where he once dreamed about stars and power and a life beyond these sands. The door opens before they knock. Shmi stands there, older, more worn, lines carved deeper by sun and work and worry. But her eyes are the same, gentle, proud. She freezes as she sees her son, taller now, in Jedi robes, a lightsaber hanging at his side. "Anakin?" He breaks. He doesn't even try to hold it together. He rushes forward and she pulls him into her arms, and suddenly he's 9 again, sobbing into her shoulder. Except this time, the tears are not from leaving. They are from finally coming back. Qui-Gon handles the rest. He goes to Watto. He brings credits. He brings quiet threats wrapped in polite words. And when that isn't enough, he brings the mind trick, leaning on the weak spots in Watto's resolve until the slaver signs away his claim without ever realizing why. No Tusken camp, no torture, no frantic too-late rescue. Just a deliberate liberation carried out in daylight. Shmi meets Ahsoka and smiles, thanking this strange Togruta who clearly cares for her son. She thanks Qui-Gon for believing in him. She studies older Anakin for a long moment, sensing something broken and healed in him even after everything. As their ship lifts off, Shmi safely aboard, older Anakin feels it. A shift. Like a knot he's carried his whole life has finally come undone. The Force around him doesn't go quiet. It rearranges. If this wound is gone, what new shape will destiny take, and what darkness will try to replace it? Far across the galaxy, as that knot in Anakin loosens, another presence feels it snap. In the Senate office tower on Coruscant, deep beneath the polished marble and polite smiles, Palpatine sits alone in his private meditation chamber. The room is almost completely dark. No windows, no guards, only the faint red glow of hidden runes and the slow, poisonous swirl of the dark side around him as he sinks deeper into it and reviews the last decade like a hollow recording. Small things, always small things, a vote delayed in committee, a scandal he meant to ignite quietly smothered, Jedi who should have been blind, suddenly cautious. And now this. A Shmi Skywalker rescued early, a young Anakin steadier than he should be, and an older Anakin and Ahsoka moving like ghosts he cannot quite see. The currents of the Force are no longer flowing cleanly into his hands. He realizes it in a single cold moment. For Anakin, brute forcing the Clone Wars into existence might not be the perfect trap anymore. A galaxy at war would still give him power, but it might also give this more supported, less traumatized Skywalker exactly what he needs to resist. So instead of pushing harder, Darth Sidious shifts. He decides to go smaller, sharper, more personal. Anakin doesn't have to be broken on a lava bank this time. He only has to be turned a few degrees. So Palpatine starts planning new missions long before the first clone ever marches. Worlds where civilians are caught between pirates and procedure. Situations where Anakin's compassion flares hot while the Jedi Council insists on patience and protocol. He imagines the scene, blue lightsaber ignited to shield refugees, while a council transmission orders him to stand down, to wait, to consider the bigger picture. That is where the blade goes in, not through flesh, but through trust. He will whisper through senators and aides, through frightened governors and grateful families, little comments about how the Jedi talk about peace while letting people suffer, about how they preach no attachments while clinging to their own authority. Every time Anakin feels misunderstood, every time Obi-Wan hesitates, Sidious will be there in the background, quietly amplifying the sting. And this time, he moves earlier. He invites Anakin to private dinners under the most innocent pretext, Padmé's old friend, the kind Chancellor who believes in the boy from Tatooine. Our story begins in those soft-lit rooms, real food on the table, no council, no war, just quiet conversation. Palpatine asks about the Force, about fear, about what Anakin would change if he had the power to reshape everything. But there is a pattern interrupt he did not expect. Across the table, he doesn't find the impulsive, lonely prodigy from canon. He finds a more measured, self-aware young man anchored by a living mother, shadowed by an older self who has already walked as Vader, and guided by Ahsoka's calm presence. The hooks don't sink as easily. Sidious feels it. Direct seduction will fail for now. So he leans back into the dark and changes the board instead of the piece. If Anakin cannot be rushed into the role of apprentice, then the galaxy itself must be destabilized in other ways. Different proxies than Dooku, different crises, different masks. Because even after everything, one thing has not changed. The Sith will not wait forever. And somewhere in the shadows of the Senate, a new plan for war quietly begins to move. The Sith move their pieces in the Senate, but somewhere else, one warrior sits completely still. Deep in the temple, long after the halls have gone quiet, Ahsoka Tano kneels alone in a meditation chamber. No data pads, no council, just stone, shadows, and a circle of candles flickering around her like tiny stars. Our story begins here, not with a lightsaber clash, but with the kind of battle the galaxy never sees. She closes her eyes, the Force answers. In an instant, the flame light becomes the orange glare of Mandalore's burning skyline. She smells smoke, hears the distant roar of gunships. Clone helmets float in the dark around her, white and orange and scorched black, turning slowly like ghosts in zero-G. Each one is a name, each one is a choice she couldn't change the first time. Her breath shudders. The vision jumps again. Now it's the bridge of a cruiser, alarms screaming, clones turning with rifles raised. She sees Rex hesitate, sees blaster fire flash, feels the deck tilt, and even after everything, her body still tenses to ignite blades that aren't in her hands. These aren't memories from this timeline. They're scars the Force refuses to let her forget. The door hisses open. Older Anakin steps in, cloak pulled tight, the candlelight catching the lines time carved into his face. Not Vader, not the broken man on the lava bank, just Anakin Skywalker, carrying his own war in his eyes. He sits beside her without a word. For a while, they just listen to the candles crackle, then it spills out of her. She tells him that something feels wrong in the current, that every move they make to derail Sidious just seems to bend the galaxy toward a different kind of conflict. No clones, maybe, no Geonosis arena, but trade routes hardening, new factions whispering, the same cold gravity of war building in another shape. What if we're not changing fate, she says quietly, just redrawing the map it uses to find us? Anakin lets that hang there. He's seen prophecies twist. He's watched himself become the monster in his own visions. When he finally answers, his voice is steady. Maybe some battles are fixed points. Maybe the Force still demands a storm. But the people standing in that storm are not the same. Shmi is alive and safe. Young Skywalker is growing up with warning signs all around him. The Council is uneasy instead of blind. That matters. He reminds her that saving one village, one mother, one Padawan is not playing God. It's doing what Jedi were always meant to do. Yes, there will be unintended consequences. Yes, somewhere, a life she never knew might be lost because a senator lived or a blockade never happened. But doing nothing is a choice too. Ahsoka nods, but the guilt doesn't vanish. It just settles deeper, like a weight she chooses to carry, and that's when the chamber vanishes. The Force grabs her. Suddenly she's standing on a battlefield she has never seen. The sky is choked with ash, but the soldiers below aren't clones. White armor, clean lines, colder visors, no painted marks of individuality, just rank stripes and brutal efficiency. Their blasters hammer red into a crowd of fleeing civilians. Above them, a figure walks through the smoke. Black robes, a single red blade humming to life. Not Vader, not Maul. Someone new, moving with a precision that feels like Anakin and an emptiness that feels like Sidious. As the stranger turns, the force pressure spikes so hard Ahsoka can't breathe. This isn't the Clone War. It's something beyond it. She snaps back into the chamber, gasping, candles blown out. Anakin already on his feet with his own lightsaber half drawn, sensing the echo of whatever she just saw. Before she can speak, the temple trembles as if answering the same distant thunder. Because the Force may not be dragging them back toward the same war at all. It might be pulling them toward an entirely new era of darkness. And somewhere out there, that unknown red blade has already ignited. Let's get right into it in the next part. The tremor fades, but the echo of it follows them all the way into the council chamber. Years have passed since Ahsoka first walked through those doors and said the unthinkable. The seats are the same, the tall windows the same, but the energy in the room is not. There is a quiet tension now, not from arrogance, but from the sense that the galaxy is shifting under their feet and they can't pretend not to feel it. May sits forward as the holoprojector cycles through reports. Trade disputes that never quite became blockades. Assassination attempts exposed before they reached the Senate floor. Fringe systems stirred up by mysterious funding only for the credits to vanish when Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, and even young Skywalker followed the trail. Again and again, someone tried to manufacture a crisis. Again and again, it collapsed under the weight of new Jedi interference. Yoda's eyes are half closed as he listens. He remembers. Our story begins for this council, not with Naboo, but with a former Padawan standing in this very spot and saying calmly that a Sith Lord sat in the Senate. At the time, it sounded like fear. Now, the pattern feels like proof without a name. Uncomfortable this is, Yoda finally says, tapping his Geimer stick. Warned us, Ahsoka Tano did. A shadow in the Senate, hidden in plain sight. Certain we are not, but familiar these moves have become. Mace does not argue, he just watches the shifting data, the way every path of chaos bends back toward Coruscant's political heart. Even after everything he's seen, part of him still wants clean evidence, a red blade on a recording. Another part knows that if they wait for that, it might already be too late. The debate turns, not to battle plans, but to philosophy. Plo Koon quietly notes how many leads came from compassion, from Ahsoka or Anakin, refusing to cut ties with people the code would once have pushed away. Ki Adi Mundi objects warning that flexibility on attachments risks pulling Jedi off balance. He invokes the old fear. Love becomes fear, fear becomes anger, and anger is how a Skywalker falls. But Ahsoka's testimony of that future hits different now. Rigidity did not save them there. Detachment did not stop Vader from rising. It just meant Anakin jumped with no one allowed to truly catch him. So the Council edges the line. They do not order Anakin to abandon Shmi. Instead, they authorize regular visits, monitored but genuine. They expand corruption investigations, letting Jedi dig into shell companies and backroom deals around the Senate. They speak openly about whether the Force is asking them to be guardians of people, not just of rules. Some masters bristle, others lean in. The Order is arguing with itself, but for once, that argument is about how to change, not whether change is allowed. And then Yoda breaks the stalemate with something utterly uncanonical. "A small task force we will form," he says, quiet, focused, "to follow this shadow where the Council cannot." May studies him, then nods. "Who do you have in mind?" Yoda's gaze moves deliberately to three faces: Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, not the usual strike team, not temple guards, a maverick, his former Padawan, and the woman who has already seen the galaxy burn. In that moment, the Order steps off its old platform and into unknown territory. Because this time, when the Sith reach for the Senate, the Jedi won't be sitting in the dark. They'll already be waiting. Let's get right into it in the next part, where that secret mission finally collides with the Chancellor's office and with destiny itself. Hope you guys enjoy what comes next, because for Anakin, this is where the timeline really starts to break. So now the mission finally begins. The Jedi think they're quietly guarding Naboo and the Senate. They have no idea they're actually hunting a Phantom Menace that already sits in the Chancellor's chair. Qui-Gon is the face of it. Officially, he's leading a small stability review for the Council, checking on how credits are moving through the crisis. Unofficially, our story begins with a secret task force, Qui-Gon as the lead, Obi-Wan as his shadow, Ahsoka as a mysterious civilian consultant, and an older Anakin Skywalker hiding behind encrypted channels, feeding them ghosts from a future that no longer exists. They meet in forgotten corners of the temple, old meditation rooms, storage alcoves that used to hold training remotes. The air is quiet, but the stakes are screaming. Obi-Wan projects financial streams into the air as blue light, columns of numbers turning into rivers of credits, as he traces the flows from the Trade Federation, from corporate guilds, from banks that funded the blockade of Naboo. Older Anakin whispers through a scrambled holo, pointing out accounts he remembers from his days as Vader. The pattern is ugly. Credits vanish into shell companies, then reappear in shadowy funds that just happen to back senators aligned with Valorum's replacement. Not Palpatine himself, not yet, but the money keeps circling dangerously close to his political allies, like the galaxy itself is bending the current toward that one office on Coruscant. While Obi-Wan follows the money, Ahsoka follows the voices. She and Obi-Wan slip into the upper balconies of the Senate, hiding in maintenance crawl spaces above the grand pods. The hum of repulsors fills the air. Through thin metal and the Force, they listen as doors close and masks drop. Senators speak more freely when they think only droids are listening. Promises of emergency powers, quiet talk of security, acts that sound a lot like chains. Down on the floor, Qui-Gon walks among them. He stands beside Valorum in negotiations, beside Palpatine in small strategy huddles. His lightsaber is at his belt, but the real blade is his intuition. He stretches out with the Force every time a senator speaks, feeling for that cold, oily twist that means deception. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it isn't. And every time he brushes near Palpatine, he feels nothing. A perfect calm. Too perfect. That's when older Anakin does what the others can't. Late at night, in a borrowed ship hidden in Coruscant's lower levels, he plugs into systems he once controlled as Vader. Security archives, trade records, even half-forgotten separatist channels that, in his original timeline, won't exist for years. His fingers move fast as he forces old back doors open, using memories of Imperial codes to break into a republic that hasn't fallen yet. One mistake, and Sidious feels the disturbance. One wrong jump, and the Chancellor accelerates everything. The war Order 66, the fall of the temple. They walk a narrow platform over a river of lava, balancing thoroughness with subtlety, knowing they're playing against a master who plans decades ahead. And then the pattern breaks. Instead of a single smoking gun pointing straight at Palpatine, Obi-Wan pulls up a new name tied to those shadow accounts. A Jedi, a Count, Dooku of Sereno, moving credits, meeting corporate leaders in private, speaking in guarded messages about a new order. Palpatine is not the only Sith iron in the fire. For Anakin, this changes everything, because the next move in this game might be against his own future mentor. Hope you guys enjoy where that goes next, because even after everything, the galaxy isn't done surprising him yet. Our story begins on a world that was never meant to be a battlefield. Gray skies, endless rain, an industrial planet of refineries and loading platforms where steam hisses from every vent and neon signs flicker in the storm. High above a churning ocean, a ring of landing pads circles a central tower. Shuttles come and go. Separatist-leaning senators and corporate leaders hurry through the rain, cloaks snapping in the wind, all here to meet one man, Count Dooku of Sereno. He walks among them like a statesman, not yet the open leader of a droid army, his cape flowing as lightning flashes behind him. To most of the galaxy, he is still a respected former Jedi. To Ahsoka, to older Anakin, he is a ticking bomb the Force has already shown them. On a shadowed service bridge, the Jedi Task Force moves into position. Obi-Wan checks the perimeter. Young Anakin's hand tightens on his lightsaber. Ahsoka stands between them, hood up, feeling the storm roll through the metal under her boots as she reaches out with the Force. But it's Qui-Gon who hesitates. Rain runs down his beard as he looks across the gap at the tower where his old master is waiting. Master and apprentice, once wandering the stars together, now standing on opposite platforms with years and secrets between them. Ahsoka quietly reminds him of what she told him on Coruscant. Dooku will become a Sith Lord. He will lead a war that burns half the galaxy. Qui-Gon nods, but his eyes are haunted. He remembers the man who taught him to question the Council. He remembers the good. They make the jump. Wind roars around them as they land on the main platform and ignite their blades, blue and green flaring against the storm. The corporate leaders scatter, guards freeze, and Dooku turns, already sensing them, already knowing this is no simple negotiation. The confrontation begins with words, not strikes. Dooku speaks calmly, almost sadly, about corruption in the Senate, about how the Jedi have become tools of politicians. As the rain falls between them, older Anakin hears the same soft poison he once listened to from a different mouth over a different city. Palpatine's promises on Coruscant, Dooku's speeches here, different faces, same trap. Ahsoka steps forward, challenging him, her voice steady as she calls out the shadow behind his rhetoric. Young Anakin watches his future self's jaw tighten, recognizing how close those arguments once dragged him toward Vader. For Anakin, this is like fighting a ghost made of all his old doubts. Dooku studies them. His eyes linger a fraction too long on Ahsoka, then on the older Skywalker. He can feel something wrong in the current of the Force, like echoes from battles that haven't happened yet. Then he realizes they know too much. His crimson blade snaps to life. The duel explodes across the rain-slick platform as blue and green crash against red. Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon move in perfect rhythm as Anakin darts around them, faster, more controlled than his age should allow, refusing to let anger drive his power. The three Jedi press Dooku back toward the edge. Sparks fly as blades carve into metal. A support tower shears off and crashes into the ocean below. For a heartbeat, it looks like they might end his story years before Geonosis. But Dooku is still Dooku. He twists, hurls a wave of force energy that sends them skidding. Anakin barely catches the lip of the platform. Ahsoka yanks him back as Dooku leaps to a departing shuttle, wounded, cloak torn, eyes burning. As the ship rises into the storm, he closes his eyes and whispers to the presence waiting in the dark. There is an anomaly among the Jedi. Someone carries futures that should not exist. He will report this to his master, and the next time they meet, the trap will be ready. Hope you guys enjoy where this is going, because that is our story for today. And the galaxy has no idea what Dooku and Sidious are about to set in motion next. So what happens when Sidious finally realizes his perfect script is slipping and the chosen one he thought he owned starts writing a new ending? Our story begins with the moment he decides to push Anakin Skywalker into one last brutal test. Across Coruscant, alarms scream. The night sky burns. Separatist warships rip out of hyperspace right over the city as swarms of droids pour toward two targets at once: the Jedi Temple and the Senate. The temple spires glow in the distance, already taking fire, while the Senate dome shakes as explosions rock its foundations. Inside those buildings are everything Anakin loves and everything the galaxy depends on. Shmi, brought to Coruscant under Republic protection, is in a refugee wing near the temple. Padmé is in an emergency Senate session trying to stabilize the crisis. Obi-Wan, Yoda, and the Council are coordinating defenses as clones scramble through burning halls. Anakin sprints to a balcony, watching starfighters streak past as the realization hits him. He cannot be in all these places at once. As gunfire echoes and the floor shudders, a calm voice cuts through the chaos. Palpatine appears from the shadows of his office, the kindly mask still on his face, but the eyes colder now. He speaks softly, telling Anakin that this is the moment the Jedi have failed him again, that their rules have left his mother, his wife, and his order exposed. Master and apprentice brothers now fighting for the fate of the galaxy as enemies in one possible future, and Sidious is dangling that future like a weapon. Then the mask drops, his voice hardens, lightning crackles just for an instant around his fingers. He tells Anakin he can end this attack, save Shmi, save Padmé, save every Jedi in the temple if he will stop holding back and embrace the dark side fully. He talks about power, about certainty, about never losing anyone again. And in Anakin's mind, memories that do not belong to this timeline slam into him like a wave. Mustafar, lava, a burning platform, Padmé falling, Obi-Wan's tears, the hiss of the Vader mask sealing. Older Anakin remembers all of it as Sidious leans closer, repeating the same poison from a different angle. Anakin's fists clench. The lightsaber at his belt feels heavier. For Anakin, this is the same crossroads dressed in new armor. But this time, he is not alone. Older Anakin and Ahsoka reach for him through the Force, not with blades, but with presence. The office falls away. Time stretches. Young Anakin stands in a vast, star-filled void, Sidious on one side, and on the other, the scarred Jedi Knight he could become, and the Togruta friend who never stopped believing in him, even after everything. They don't bark orders, they don't demand, they remind him of every child he saved on a battlefield when he chose mercy over anger, of every time he trusted Obi-Wan and lived, of the moment on the Death Star where he threw away Vader's armor to save his own son. The dark offers control. The light offers trust. One feels like a guaranteed victory. The other feels like a terrifying jump into the unknown. Anakin breathes. The galaxy holds its breath with him. He smiles just a little, and it's almost sad. He turns away from Sidious, and as the vision snaps back to the blazing skyline of Coruscant, Anakin Skywalker steps off the path that once led to Vader and into a future no prophecy ever described. Let's get right into what that choice unleashes next, because hope you guys enjoy where this is going. The real war for the galaxy is only just beginning. The shift is instant, the skyline is the same, the war is the same, but the story is not. When Anakin steps away from Sidious in that office, the galaxy doesn't suddenly heal, it convulses, alarms blare, clone troopers rush in, Windu is bruised but alive as Anakin ignites his lightsaber, not against the Jedi, but between them and the Chancellor. The blue blade hums as Anakin's voice cuts through the chaos, louder than the sirens, louder than the storm outside. He calls Sidious what he really is: Sith, manipulator, the shadow behind the entire Clone War. The Senate sees the aftermath, hollows of the duel, the scars carved into Coruscant itself. Our story begins in that chamber as Anakin stands before thousands of floating pods, armor scorched, cloak torn, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan at his back. He's not Darth Vader. He's the chosen one, the hero of the Outer Rim, and now he's the man accusing their beloved Chancellor. Master and apprentice brothers, now standing together against the most powerful politician in the galaxy. Anakin doesn't give a polished speech, he gives the truth. He talks about visions of Padmé's death, about how Sidious twisted them, about secret meetings, hidden powers, and a second identity called Darth Sidious. As he speaks, the Force itself seems to press on the room. Some senators look horrified, some furious, some terrified of losing their patron. But doubt is planted. For Anakin, that is the first real victory. Dooku never reaches trial. Cornered by a joint task force led by Plo Koon, Ahsoka, and a very focused Obi-Wan, he's forced into a final duel on a shattered Separatist cruiser. The old Count falls or vanishes into the shadows depending on which report you believe, but either way, his grand design collapses. Droid armies go offline, not with a single dramatic switch, but sector by sector as worlds refuse to keep fighting for a dead or disgraced leader. The Republic survives the crisis, but it doesn't walk away clean. Emergency powers are stripped. Oversight committees rise overnight. Senators like Padmé, Bail, and Mon Mothma start talking not about an empire, but about reform. The Jedi are no longer unquestioned guardians. They're witnesses to their own failure to see the darkness in front of them. Inside the temple, everything changes in smaller, quieter ways. Anakin and Padmé stop pretending. Their marriage is revealed, not in scandal, but in a painful council meeting where Yoda listens more than he speaks. Obi-Wan doesn't stand apart at this time. He sits beside Anakin, defending his former Padawan not as a perfect Jedi, but as a good man who was almost lost because the Order feared attachment more than it feared complacency. Qui-Gon's teachings, carried by Ahsoka and by the older Anakin who remembers what rigid dogma cost them, finally take root. Attachment is reframed. Love is not banned, but bound to responsibility. The Order begins to open its doors, literally and spiritually, visiting refugee camps, listening to clones who now question their own programming. And Ahsoka watches all of this with a quiet, bittersweet awe. She remembers a temple that refused to hear her. Now she walks its halls as a bridge between past and future, talking openly about the world between worlds, about how the Force itself bent time to give them this second chance. The Jedi don't dismiss her. They ask what they did wrong. Pattern interrupt. The galaxy does not become a utopia. With Vader never born, entire criminal networks and warlords rise where his terror once kept order through fear. Former separatist worlds flirt with new extremists. Unknown regions' powers feel the vacuum left by a missing Sith Empire and begin to stir. But this time, the ones standing at the center of it all are different. Anakin Skywalker no longer running from his fear, Obi-Wan no longer hiding behind rules, Ahsoka carrying scars from a future that might never arrive, Padmé openly shaping law with the knowledge of how it once failed. Even after everything, the Force has not given them peace, it has given them responsibility. And as new threats gather in the dark, our story for today leaves them on the edge of a new era, ready to face a galaxy that finally knows the name Sidious, but has no idea what might rise to replace him. But what if the Force itself isn't done with them yet? We cut away from the Senate, from strategy and whispers, to something quiet. Anakin sits alone on Naboo, on the same lakeshore where he once spoke to Padmé about politics and power. The grass moves gently in the breeze, the water is glass, and as he closes his eyes, he feels the Force moving through him in a way it never did when he wore the armor of Vader. It's brighter, softer, but also wider. As he sinks deeper into meditation, the sounds of the lake fade and other echoes rise. Luke reaching for him on the Death Star, Leia standing defiant on Endor, the crackle of lightning as he lifted Sidious over his head, the burning pain, the platform on Mustafar, the smell of lava and metal as his lightsaber was kicked from his hand. All of it washes over him as if it is still happening, as if the galaxy is holding two breaths at once. He realizes those moments are not gone, they are not erased, they exist shimmering at the edge of his awareness, a timeline where he fell, where he rose, where the Jedi died and were reborn in the shadow of his mask. The Force shows him Luke rebuilding a new kind of order, Ahsoka wandering the unknown even after everything, still helping people in the dark. Those lives are real. Those victories matter. This is not a reset, it is another path. For Anakin, the prophecy suddenly feels different. Maybe the Chosen One was never a single fixed ending, never one perfect strike that would freeze the galaxy in balance forever. Instead, the Force keeps reaching, keeps testing, sending out possibilities like ripples across the lake. In every version, Anakin Skywalker is a focal point, not because he is destined to do one thing, but because he could do almost anything. Footsteps crunch softly behind him. Ahsoka lowers herself into the grass at his side without a word. For a moment, they just sit, listening to the water. Two warriors who have seen too many wars. They talk quietly about the pain of walking back through old wounds, about Shmi's smile when she realized she would live, about Qui-Gon's faith, Obi-Wan's second chance to train a boy without the shadow of Vader between them. There is joy there and relief, but also humility. They stopped Sidious early, yet they could not control every senator, every frightened citizen, every hidden dark side whisper in the galaxy. Ahsoka reminds him of something she learned in The World Between Worlds. You can touch moments, but you cannot own them. Anakin nods. He cannot unmake the man who stood on that burning shore, but he can decide who he is when he remembers him. The wind picks up, the lake shimmers, and our story begins to settle on its final truth. The Force doesn't erase our failures, it weaves them into new chances to grow beyond them. In the end, the greatest victory isn't changing the past, it's changing the person who dares to face it. The lake settles, but the timeline doesn't, because once the Force reaches back, resurrects Anakin and Ahsoka, and drops them into Episode 1, every quiet ripple on that water becomes a shockwave across the entire galaxy. Our story begins with that first impossible choice, the cosmic force refusing to let Mustafar be the last word for Anakin Skywalker. It pulls him and Ahsoka out of death, out of lava and masks and regret, and throws them onto the sands of Tatooine years earlier. From there, the pivot points stack fast. Qui-Gon survives Naboo. Shmi walks free of Watto long before Tusken Raiders can ever find her. The Council, stubborn at first, is slowly pushed awake by two strangers who know exactly how blind they once were. For Anakin, the biggest fracture is simple and huge at the same time. He never becomes Vader. There is no black armor, no burning platform, no red blade hunting Jedi through the dark. Instead of a Knight of the Sith, he becomes a living warning about what the Sith can do. Every time he looks at his younger self, every time he watches that kid jump or ignite a lightsaber for training, he is rewriting the story that once owned him. And if there is no Vader, the entire board changes. The Purge doesn't unfold the same way. Order 66, if it comes at all, hits a Jedi Order that has already begun to evolve instead of one frozen in tradition. Masters like Yoda and Mace are not wiped from the map. They're forced to listen, to adapt, to accept that attachment can become compassion instead of fear. The Republic, warned early about a Sith in the Senate, bends under corruption but does not snap cleanly into an empire. That doesn't mean the galaxy is safe. Sidious is too patient, too venomous to simply vanish. Maybe he falls on Naboo. Maybe he is unmasked on Coruscant. But power hates a vacuum. Without Vader at his side, a different kind of Imperial threat can rise. A surviving Dooku, a reborn Maul, or some new dark figure who watched the Chosen One derail one plan and decides to build a crueler one in the shadows. And then there are the twins. In a world where Anakin never dons the mask, what happens to Luke and Leia? Are they still hidden on Tatooine and Alderaan? Or do they grow up knowing their father as the man who stopped the fall instead of the monster who caused it? Without the original rebellion, without the image of a faceless tyrant in black armor, does the galaxy ever unite the same way? Or does resistance look smaller, more scattered, more political than mythic? This is where the timeline stops being better or worse and becomes a mirror. Different choices light up different themes: fate versus free will, attachment versus compassion, prophecy versus responsibility. Anakin's second life doesn't erase his darkness, it forces him to own it in front of the boy he used to be and the Padawan who refused to give up on him even after everything. So as this branch of our saga closes, think of it as one path in a forest of possibilities. What if only Ahsoka had gone back without Anakin's shadow standing beside her? What if the Force overshot and sent them to Episode 2 instead, right as the Clone Wars ignite? What if Palpatine sensed them the moment they arrived and rewrote his own plan first, turning their second chance into his greatest weapon? That is our story for today, but this timeline is far from finished, and in the next video we'll jump into one of those darker forks and see just how far the galaxy can still fall. And in the next video we'll jump into one of those darker forks and see just how far the galaxy can still fall. But for now, if you're still here staring at the twin suns with us after this full movie-length journey, thank you. You just watched an entire alternate life for Anakin Skywalker unfold because the Force itself refused to let his story end. And that means you're the kind of fan who wants to see every possible jump, every possible choice. You followed him from the lava rivers he remembers to the dusty streets of Tatooine he thought he'd left behind. We watched Ahsoka walk beside him, not as the Padawan who left the temple, but as the survivor who has seen Vader, seen the Empire, and still chose to reach back for Anakin even after everything. Together they tried to guide a boy with a pod racer and a dream, before the blade, before the armor, before the name Vader ever existed. Now it's your turn to rewrite the galaxy. In the comments, lay out your own continuations of this timeline. Does this resurrected Anakin one day stand in the council chamber as Grand Master of a new Jedi Order, teaching younglings how to balance attachment and duty instead of being punished for caring? Or does some other Sith rise in the shadow his redemption left behind, twisting the Republic in a way even he and Ahsoka didn't foresee? Tell us how you think Ahsoka's legend changes here. Is she the quiet guardian who nudges Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan away from disaster, or the open rebel who walks straight into the Council and names Palpatine as the Sith Lord? Maybe your version has her training a young Obi-Wan in secret, or standing beside Padmé on Naboo as a living warning of the war that should have happened but never will. If you enjoyed seeing Anakin and Ahsoka get a second chance, if this kind of slow, multi-hour dive into Star Wars lore and character psychology is your thing, make sure to hit that like button. It tells the algorithm that stories like this matter, and it lets us know you want more. And if you're new here and somehow just watched a man who was Vader walk next to his 9-year-old self on a desert platform and thought, yeah, let's get right into it again, then subscribe so you don't miss the next timeline. When this video ends, you don't have to leave this universe. For Anakin fans, we've got a full what if where he's saved on Mustafar, where the duel with Obi-Wan ends with a different jump, a different choice, and Sidious doesn't get the apprentice he wanted. There's another path where his bond with Obi-Wan is healed early, and the entire Clone Wars plays out under a Skywalker who never breaks. And if you want more Ahsoka, there's a separate playlist waiting that follows her through an alternate world between worlds, where she pulls other Jedi out of their fates and forces the Order to confront what it became. Our story begins there with a single step through a portal, and it only gets stranger from that moment on. That is our story for today, but across every galaxy, in every timeline, the question isn't just what if the Force changed everything, it's what if we chose differently when it mattered most? As the twin suns of Tatooine sink beneath the horizon one last time, remember, there is always another path, and the next video might show you a choice you never imagined.